Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Martial God. I can improve the quality of my abilities. Chapter 41. Su Shu. Bullshit, this is Chief Zhao's superpower. He's here. Wang Yushan was puzzled. Why is Chief Zhao here? Su Shu. It goes without saying that we are his qualifiers, so of course he will take it seriously, and the news that we are coming to Cho Wu Gate will definitely not be hidden from him. As he spoke, Zhao Shilin fell straight in front of a few people, his eyes fixed on the overlord Wu Niu being carried by a few people. Then he suddenly turned his head to look at Su Shu, his eyes full of disbelief. You caught this? Su Shu shook his head. It ran here by itself. Zhao Shilin's face was serious and he said loudly, be serious when you face your superiors. Don't joke. Su Shu rolled his eyes. You were the one who joked with me first. Zhao Shilin stared at Su Shu with anger in his eyes. Su Shu refused to give in at all and stared at Zhao Shilin. The scene fell into silence for a moment. The snowflakes in the sky are still falling, and the black cows in the gate of strange beasts are still pouring out, and then turn into ice sculptures. Finally, Zhao Shilin spoke. What do you mean? It's the other way around, right? Su Shu, I just want to ask, where are the red envelopes we received for passing the assessment? Zhao Shilin suddenly showed embarrassment for a moment after hearing this, but he immediately covered it up, and then asked seriously, what red envelope? Where can I get any red envelope? At the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out that was what it was for. I thought Su Shu was a lost child, and he didn't even take him seriously anymore. Su Shu didn't hesitate. You won't give it, right? Kun Sheng, Wang Yushan, Overlord Wu Niu, let's go. We'll apply for a change of officer later. The village student nodded in agreement. Exchange, such a picky commander, you can follow whoever you want. Although Wang Yushan didn't speak, his actions made it clear. Seeing this, Zhao Shilin quickly chased after him. Don't. I'll give it, okay. There's no reason why Zhao Shilin didn't give it. With their status as high school students, Su Shu and the others were able to capture the overlord beast. Will they be able to do so in the future? You must know that he will receive a commission for the military merits achieved by several people during their preliminaries. If he can successfully bring a few people to graduate from college and officially join the supernatural army, the rewards he can get during this period are immeasurable. And with a few people here, the next task assigned to him can be easily handled by Su Shu and a few people, which has many benefits. If he doesn't give it, if the three of them apply for a change of commander based on their achievements in catching the overlord's strange beasts, their superiors will probably agree, and then his losses will be huge. Su Shu stretched out a finger. Each person has a platinum beast crystal core. After hearing this, Zhao Shilin quit. Go and rob it. With all my belongings put together, I can't even get a single platinum beast crystal core. A platinum exotic beast crystal core is worth tens of millions, which is the same as the price of the overlord Black Bull in front of him. It's not that Zhao Shilin can't get it, but it will definitely drain his family's wealth. Su Shu shook his head. Then we have nothing to talk about. Overlord Wu Niu, let's go. Seeing this, Zhao Shilin quickly stopped in front. No, let's discuss it. How about a bronze crystal core for each person? Su Shu shook his head. Looks like we don't need to talk anymore. You'd better take this bronze crystal core and buy some facial masks to put on your cheeky skin. Baiyan, is this the Baiyan head office? Zhao Shilin finally gritted his teeth and spoke. Su Shu stretched out his hand directly. Bring it here. Zhao Shilin's face twitched and his flesh ached so much that he could only take out 3 silver crystal cores and handed them to Su Shu, Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan respectively. Su Shu immediately beamed. Sir Zhao, please stand aside, we are going to hand in the exotic beasts. Zhao Shilin's face twitched a few more times, and he finally saw Su Shu's ability to change his face, so he took a step aside to let them pass. This scene was also seen by Li Yafei in the crowd. She wanted to say that she also had a share in this silver crystal core. But she couldn't bear to ask for it, and she could only despise Su Shu again, who despised wealth as much as life. Sure enough, those who came from the slums really valued money, as if they had never seen money in several generations. Are they preliminaries? Huang Shijun next to him suddenly said in surprise. You must know that they also received the assessment task, but failed the first time. But Su Shu and the others were already in the preliminary round, which made him feel very uncomfortable. They were also just awakened, so why did they feel that the gap was so big? The imbalance in his heart made Huang Shijun clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. They passed the examination in the same batch as me. Li Yafei nodded. Huang Shijun was surprised. Then why don't you join them? Logically speaking, you are their teammate. Li Yafei shook his head, with disappointment in his eyes. There were some words he didn't want to say. Looking at Li Yafei's expression, Huang Shijun said, they went too far and abandoned their teammates. They are really nothing, so what about the preliminaries? If your character is not good enough, it will definitely not be much better in the future. Li Yafei was silent and did not explain much. While they were talking, Su Shu and the others had already carried the Overlord Wu Niu into the superpower base. The movement outside had already alerted the staff inside, and they were quickly taken to the forbidden cage. It wasn't until the Overlord Wu Niu was thrown into the forbidden cage that everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They all collapsed on the ground and gasped. After 2 days and 1 night of hard work, everything finally came to fruition. The village student couldn't help but give Su Shu a big hug. Brother Shu. We are making a difference. Su Shu's nose moved. Kunsheng, there is a fragrance on your bellyband. What's going on? Kunsheng quickly let go of Su Shu and stepped aside. I have my own fragrance. On the day I was born, butterflies danced over my house. Wang Yushan rolled her eyes and directly exposed. That bellyband was worn by his girlfriend, it must have the smell of her. Kunsheng was immediately dissatisfied after being exposed. Wang Yushan, please don't tell my secrets everywhere. Su Shu raised his eyebrows. You actually have a girlfriend. Isn't this normal? I'm a girl. Kunsheng patted his chest and said proudly. Su Shu, so you like to wear belly bands that others have worn. A girl like a girl shouldn't be so perverted, right? Kunsheng glanced at the people sitting next to him, his eyes panicked. If you say it again, I will break up with you. Su Shu muttered. You are perverted, and you are afraid that others will know. Kunsheng did not refute, but rushed directly to Su Shu, and the two immediately wrestled together. Wang Yushan rolled her eyes but did not stop them. She was used to seeing the two of them. However, the few people who were paid to come here did not know the two of them and stood up to pull them apart. The two of them were being pulled and still baring their teeth and claws at each other. Finally, they had no choice but to stop. By the way, what's your name? If you have a chance in the future, you can join us. Su Shu no longer paid attention to the village student, but turned to look at the man next to him who was determined to attract the black cattle. The man smiled shyly. My name is Shu Jun. Su Shu was about to continue talking when the staff walked in. 3 pre-election adults, the results are out, can you talk to us for a moment? Military merit is a secret of the pre-selection after all, so it cannot be said in front of these people. Su Shu and the other two quickly stood up and followed the staff to a room. After they sat down, the staff began to report. 3 adults, this time the Overlord Wu Niu exchanged a total of 10,000 military merits. Will it be evenly credited to the accounts of the 3? 10,000 military merits are equivalent to 10 million yuan. It must be said that this is a huge sum of money. Kunsheng quickly said. All credited to my account, I will help them use it. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Shu and Wang Yushan rushed to him at the same time, and the 3 of them immediately wrestled together. The staff was also very speechless when they saw this. It was the first time they saw such a pre-selection that did not care about the image. You know, other pre-selection candidates would like to put on a piece of human skin to pretend to be deep. After a long time, the 3 of them ended the wrestling, and then Su Shu said, all credited to my account. They are not short of money. Kunsheng and Wang Yushan immediately quit and rushed up again. The 3 of them wrestled again. Staff. After a long time, the 3 of them finally finished, and Wang Yushan said, divide it equally among the 3 of us. The staff nodded. Okay, I'll arrange it right away. After that, the staff went out, and then the 3 of them received a message on their mobile phones. 3,333 military merits were deposited into their accounts. Su Shu subconsciously glanced at the village student's phone and immediately got angry. Why are you 3,334? Wang Yushan also turned her head and looked over after hearing this. Her eyes were immediately filled with resentment. Give me the extra point. The village student rolled his eyes. It's just a little extra military merit, and who should I give it to between the two of you? Su Shu. Of course it's me. I've contributed the most. Wang Yushan. You weakling, I'll be the main force in the future, of course it's me. Su Shu didn't give in. It's all because of me that we caught the Overlord Wanyu. Wang Yushan. Without our efforts, you can't lift it up. Su Shu rushed over directly. I'll fight you. The two of them immediately wrestled together, and the village student watched proudly from the side. After a long time, the two stopped, sat back in their seats, and gasped heavily. Maybe this is the best way for the three of them to relieve themselves. The tension of 2 days and 1 night was completely released at this moment. Su Shu suddenly thought of something and asked, what about the rewards for the 10 people outside? Wang Yushan. The village student took a little more military merit, so of course he should pay. The village student immediately refused to do it. Why me? A little military merit is only worth 1,000, but you asked me to pay 100,000. Su Shu. This is random, of course it goes to whoever is assigned. And I don't have money. The village student immediately refused to do it. It was you who recruited the people, not us, and I didn't agree to recruit people at first. Wang Yushan nodded in agreement. Yes. Su Shu didn't say anything, but took out his mobile phone to open the military merit system and looked at it. First, he spent 1,000 military merits to buy a hegemon level crystal core, which would be used for absorption at that time, and chose express delivery. Then he opened the supernatural weapons and looked at them. Su Shu knew that he had no attack ability, so supernatural weapons were very critical, and he had kept this in mind for a long time. The first choice must be weapons with extremely high lethality, which would make the opponent feel weak and powerless, and then he could directly kill the opponent with supernatural weapons. In this way, he will not be so dependent on his teammates. After looking for a long time, Su Shu found that none of them were suitable for him, either too long, too big, and not very convenient to carry. Su Shu simply did not rush to choose, and looked at them one by one. In fact, the requirements of the user and the attributes of the weapon itself are very demanding. For example, if the psychic is a fire element, then the psychic weapon must also be a fire element, otherwise the psychic is not compatible at all, resulting in incompatibility. Psychic weapons are not only made of bones of alien beasts, but also some are condensed after the death of the predecessor weapon psychic. Those have become the equipment of the younger generation of weapon psychics, and other types of psychics cannot use them. While strolling around, Su Shu was suddenly attracted by a psychic weapon and subconsciously clicked in to check it out. Forbidden Alien Horn. Level: unknown. Function: unknown. Price: 2,300. Note: it was brought out from the Forbidden Alien Gate by Lord Sword Emperor and Lord Kitchen King, and Lord Sword Emperor's sword could not cause damage to it. Su Shu was speechless after seeing it. Who would exchange such a useless thing? The annotation was very high-sounding. You don't need to think about it to know that many people exchanged it, and then took it back to exchange for military merit after it was useless. Then Su Shu clicked to exchange. Outside the gate of Chuwu, Zhao Shilin had just dealt with all the black cattle when his cell phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was the military merit system that sent the message that the Forbidden Alien Horn was sold. Zhao Shilin was immediately happy. It was actually sold. Great. He had kept this thing for several months. Although this thing sounds very high-sounding, it is actually a useless alien horn. I don't know how many supernatural people have passed through it. In the end, it was useless and could only be hung back in the military merit system in exchange for military merit. It is not easy to sell something that has been exchanged. It must be lower than the price when it was purchased before. And it can only be hung there. When someone buys it, you can get military merit. The initial selling price of this forbidden alien horn is 10 million military merit. Later, after the continuous efforts of the younger generation of superpowers, the price was successfully reduced to 3,000 military merits, and finally it was Zhao Shilin, the big victim. He successfully lowered it to 2,300. At the beginning, he put it at 2,999. Later, there was no movement. After all, the new superpowers had not obtained so many military merits so quickly, and only the new superpowers would be fooled and become the next big victim. Zhao Shilin had no choice. so Zhao Shilin could only lower the price again, and finally it dropped to 2,300. Now that a big victim finally took over, how could he not be happy? At this time, the phone rang. It was a call from the top. Zhao Shilin answered the call immediately. Sir. Routine investigation. Zhao Shilin, you have 4 pre-selected soldiers, right? Zhao Shilin answered immediately. Yes, sir. 3 of them captured the overlord alive in the gate of Chuwu today, right? Were you there? Did you verify it? Did you help? Zhao Shilin said immediately. Sir, I didn't provide any help. I have verified it on the spot and solved the riot in the gate of Chuwu that was caused later. These 3 people have attracted the attention of the superiors, so it is a routine investigation. The last question is, one of them exchanged the forbidden horn that you posted on the military merit system. Did you force him, or entice him to exchange it? Zhao Shilin was shocked. It turned out that the 3 of them exchanged it. But now is not the time to think too much. Zhao Shilin answered immediately. Sir, I didn't force them or entice them. The ability army attaches great importance to preliminary selection. Because the preliminaries are carefully selected from a new batch of awakened people, they are the future fresh blood of the supernatural army. What's more, the performance of Su Shu and the others was so astonishing. Not only did they pass the first test, they also captured a Lord Alien Beast alive on the way. Not long ago, an overlord was caught. How could the higher-ups not pay attention to such a performance? Okay, that's fine. The investigation is over. Zhao Shilin, as your commander during the preliminaries, I have to remind you of something. The performance of these 3 qualifiers you led is too amazing. Your rewards will be considerable. Likewise, the burden on your shoulders will also be heavier. You have to pay careful attention to every detail of them, and take care of them until they officially join the supernatural army. They will definitely not forget you in the future. Also, the most important thing is their safety. Although they are protected behind each other, you'd better pay attention. If an accident occurs, you also have unshakable responsibility. After hearing this, Zhao Shilin quickly said, Yes, sir, I will pay attention. After hearing this, the other party hung up the phone. Zhao Shilin finally breathed a sigh of relief, and then quickly turned around and went to the Special Ability Army base, until he came to the room where Su Shu and others were. At this time, the 3 of them were lying on chairs and playing with their mobile phones. As soon as Zhao Shilin came in, Su Shu and Kun Sheng put down their phones and ran over and hugged Zhao Shilin's thigh. Zhao Shilin felt bad when he saw this. What are you doing? Su Shu raised his head and said pitifully, Sir, the 3 of us have just received a massive amount of military merit. We couldn't hold it back for a while and we spent it all. After hearing this, Zhao Shilin said indifferently, Just spend it all. It's nothing. Su Shu looked embarrassed. But, we haven't been given the money to hire those 10 superpowers yet. Zhao Shilin's face twitched after hearing this. He raised his eyes and saw Wang Yushan sitting there with a calm expression on his face. He quickly asked, Have you finished spending it too? Wang Yushan nodded quickly. Sir, the flowers are gone. Zhao Shilin was speechless. Why did he feel that the qualifiers he led were always full of malice toward him? Thinking back to when I was still in pre-election, I wished I could dedicate all my military achievements to my superiors. In the end, he finally managed to become a commander, but the reverse happened. The qualifiers he led were always trying to trick him. Finally, he had no choice but to ask, How much is the total? Su Shu stretched out a finger. 10,000 per person, a total of 100,000. After hearing this, Zhao Shilin was so angry that he kicked Su Shu and Kun Sheng away. You were just trying to trick me into death, right? Su Shu quickly patted his chest. Sir, don't worry, this money is considered a loan, and I will return it to you in the future. After hearing this, the village student subconsciously turned to look at Su Shu, with confusion in his eyes. When he realized what he was doing, he had already pounced on him. Zhao Shilin didn't bother to pay attention to the 2 people fighting, and walked to the side and sat down. I will lend you money, but you must pay it back. If you don't pay back, I will deduct your military merit. Su Shu and Kun Sheng stopped after hearing this and nodded seriously at the same time. Thank you, sir. Wang Yushan also smiled slightly. Thank you, Chief Zhao. Zhao Shilin nodded. Let's talk about this later. I have something to ask you. Why didn't you bring Li Yafei with you this time? She has an auxiliary ability and will be of great help to you in the future. The three of them looked at each other, did not speak, and remained silent. Zhao Shilin actually knew what was going on. Seeing the silence of the three people, he did not continue the topic, but asked again, then do you want to add another teammate? Su Shu was the first to shake his head. Sir, just help us remove Li Yafei from the team. As for new teammates, we will consider them, but we need to choose them ourselves. We don't actually value abilities very much. The most important thing is to have decent character. Zhao Shilin nodded. Okay. After saying that, he took out a box from his arms and handed it to Su Shu. Here, you exchanged for the forbidden corner. Su Shu was startled, then quickly took it and opened it. I saw a dark curved corner lying quietly in the box. Not big, about the thickness of a small arm and the length of a small arm. The tip is not sharp, but seems a bit blunt. No wonder other people with superpowers have used it to no avail. Even dogs can't be stabbed to death by this one. Okay, the items have been delivered. You can confirm it in the military merit system. Zhao Shilin reminded him. Su Shu nodded and took out his mobile phone to confirm receipt of the goods. Then Zhao Shilin gave 100,000 yuan to Su Shu and the others, then got up and left. The three of them came outside and handed out all the money. Everyone who got the money looked very excited. Don't underestimate these 10,000 yuan. If they enter the Chuwu Gate on their own, it will not be easy to get these 10,000 yuan. If you go in alone, you will definitely not be able to hunt the exotic beasts. If you go in as a team, it means there are more people. For example, 4 people, then you need to hunt 40 ordinary exotic beasts to get the 10,000 yuan. Besides money, the most precious thing is the honor of capturing the overlord alive together, which is enough to brag about for a lifetime. Finally, Su Shu added Xu Jun's contact information and told him that if there was a chance, he would call him again. After hearing this, Xu Jun nodded excitedly and quickly said yes. It was already getting late, so the three of them walked out of the base, got into the commercial vehicle, and headed home. The harvest this time was enough for the three of them to digest for a while. When I got home, it was already very late and my parents had already gone to bed. Back in the room, Su Shu quickly took out the forbidden horn he had just exchanged and studied it. The main reason for choosing to exchange this forbidden horn was that Su Shu felt familiar when he saw the picture of this thing. But he was sure that he had never seen this thing before, even when he looked at the military merit exchange system. This familiar feeling came from nowhere. If he could study it, he would make a fortune. With this fluke mentality, Su Shu finally chose to exchange. Holding it in his hand, Su Shu did not feel anything strange, it looked like an ordinary curved horn. Holding it in his hand, Su Shu tried to input some supernatural powers. In an instant, the curved horn seemed to suddenly come to life, and the whole body suddenly lit up red light, and dense dark red lines began to wander all over the curved horn. Su Shu stared with wide eyes. Is it really useful? Su Shu couldn't help but squeeze it, and suddenly, the surrounding scenery changed wildly. Then Su Shu found himself in a peaceful and safe world. Roar! Suddenly, a cute-looking beast pounced on Su Shu. The other party appeared too suddenly, so Su Shu had no time to react. In a hurry, Su Shu subconsciously released weakness to him. But it had no effect at all, and Su Shu was so scared that he closed his eyes. But the strange beast suddenly passed through Su Shu's body. Feeling that he was fine, Su Shu couldn't help but open his eyes and found that many strange beasts pounced on him, but they all passed through his body and did not cause any harm to him. Re-evaluate the world around you. There were many alien beasts around, but what Su Shu found strange was that these alien beasts were all peaceful and not as violent as in the Gate of Alien Beasts. They are just like the animals before the Gate of Alien Beasts appeared, peaceful and safe. Roar! Suddenly, a roar echoed throughout the world. Su Shu couldn't help but look up and saw a strange beast appearing in the sky that covered the sky and the sun. This strange beast has 4 legs, a slender tail swaying behind it, its body covered with dark red scales, and a sharp horn on its head, which looks exactly like the one on Su Shu's hand. At this time, the sharp corner was constantly emitting dark red light, absorbing the dark red mist that was constantly eroding from the sky. At this moment, a huge claw suddenly stretched out from the sky and struck directly on the sharp horn of the terrifying beast. Rumble. The terrifying impact made a sound that resounded throughout the world. The sharp horn was bent directly under the giant claw, and then the root broke and flew into the distance. In an instant, the surrounding scenery changed, and Sushu returned to the room. After being stunned for a long time, Sushu regained consciousness and couldn't help but raise the horn in his hand. At this time, it was still emitting dark red light. It turns out that this thing was straight at first, but then it was grabbed and bent by the terrifying beast that couldn't see the whole thing. The two strange beasts looked like legendary beasts of unknown strength, but even the Sword Emperor could not hurt them at all with their sharp horns. If I were beaten by them, I would definitely be bruised and bruised. At this time, because Sushu stopped transmitting supernatural powers, the light on the forbidden horn in his hand went out. At the same time, a message of spiritual connection rushed straight into Sushu's mind. He also instantly knew the effect of this forbidden horn. After inputting the superpower, the forbidden alien horn will become very sharp and can easily pierce the skin of the Black Iron Overlord level alien beast. At the same time, once it is penetrated, Sushu can deprive the opponent of his superpowers through the forbidden horn, whether it is an alien beast or a human superpower. The deprived abilities will be stored in the forbidden corner and can be released at once when needed. A power will disappear after being released once. The number of powers that can be stored in the forbidden corner is up to 5. At the same time, if Sushu reaches the bronze level and has free power slots, he can choose to absorb one from the forbidden corner and make it his own. After understanding the effect of the forbidden aberration, Sushu couldn't help but feel excited. This effect can simply be described as heaven-defying. But then, Sushu suddenly thought of another question. What are the attributes of this forbidden corner? Why has it passed through the hands of so many superpowers, but no one can use it, so that it finally fell into the hands of this Black Iron level scumbag superpower? According to the principle that only the same attribute equipment can be used with the same attribute, Sushu's attribute should be the same as the forbidden angle. But Sushu actually didn't understand what his superpower was. He just heard the principle mentioned it and it seemed to be related to space. But the terrifying sharp-horned beast I just saw in that world is definitely not a space attribute. The more he thought about it, Sushu simply stopped thinking about it and fell asleep directly. As for absorbing the crystal core of alien beasts to enhance superpowers, go to hell. I didn't even sleep last night, who can bear it? Early the next morning, when Sushu came to school, he found that there was no student at the door. Sushu was suddenly confused. Why doesn't anyone come to school? Is it a holiday today? But I didn't receive the notification. Or was there an attack on the school and all the students died? That would be great to have some time off. For a moment, Sushu could not suppress his excitement. As I walked, I reached the door of the toilet unknowingly. At this time, a classmate walked out of the toilet. Hey, classmate, Sushu called out quickly. As soon as the man saw it was Sushu, he ran away. Wait a minute, classmate, Sushu quickly chased after him. Seeing this, the other party became even more panicked, quickly quickened his pace, and even used his powers. Seeing that the opponent was getting further and further away, Su stopped and threw a weak blow to the opponent. Ah! Immediately, the other party disappeared and then appeared in Sushu's arms. With big eyes staring at small eyes, Sushu asked viciously, "Why are you running?" The man shook his head quickly. "No, I didn't run away." Sushu suddenly thought of something. "Did you not pay for the toilet?" The man shook his head quickly. "Brother Shu, I'll hand it over, I'll hand it over." However, the other party's guilty expression still gave him away. Sushu directly threw the other party to the ground. "If you dare to use the toilet without paying, you don't want to hang out in Luo and Yagao, right?" "Brother Shu, I'll hand it over. I'll hand it over next time," the man said quickly. Sushu didn't dwell on the problem anymore, but asked, "Why is there no one in the school today?" "Brother Shu, don't look at what time it is. They are all having a morning meeting on the playground." The man was speechless and said while lying on the ground. Sushu was stunned, took out his phone and saw that it was past 9 o'clock. I couldn't help but feel disappointed. It turned out that it was not the school that was attacked, but that I was late. Then Sushu turned around and headed towards the playground. "Brother Shu, wait for me. Behind him, the classmate lay on the ground and yelled feebly. At this time, the playground was densely packed with students, and the principal Wang Wuchen was talking on the podium with a microphone. Su Shu, who was late, became the focus of the whole audience as soon as he came over. Su Shu didn't bother to pay attention to their strange looks. He just found a place to stand. He stood there for half an hour, and the principal on the stage was still talking non-stop. Su Shu felt his legs were a little numb. At this time, he suddenly thought, after the quality of his superpowers was improved, would it have an effect on the principal? Logically speaking, the principal was a gold-level superpower, and his strength was about the same as that of the overlord Wu Niu, so it should be effective. When he thought of this, Su Shu's desire to try it was eager to move. Finally, he couldn't hold it back and exploded directly. Ah! In an instant, Wang Wuchen, who was talking happily on the stage, suddenly groaned, and then disappeared, and the microphone fell straight on the stage, making a bang sound. All the students were stunned. I don't know what's going on. Only a few people who were closer to Su Shu could see Wang Wuchen in Su Shu's arms. Su Shu! Wang Wuchen yelled, resounding throughout Luoyinyi High School. Everyone was frightened by Wang Wuchen's voice. Su Shu looked down at Wang Wuchen. Principal, it's not possible. You've only been in my arms for 2 days. Do you really miss me so much? Wang Wuchen was so angry that his blue beard trembled. Su Shu, I'm not done with you. Su Shu looked confused and couldn't help muttering, Principal, it was you who got into my arms, and you blame me. Wang Wuchen gritted his teeth. You really think I can't do anything to you, right? At this time, all the students in the school noticed one side and gathered around. All the students were shocked when they saw Wang Wuchen being held in Su Shu's arms. He is indeed called Brother Shu, and he is really brave. My brother Shu in society is ruthless and doesn't talk much, and he dares to hold the principal in his arms. Under the gaze of countless students, Wang Wuchen felt that his dignity as the principal was violated. Su Shu quickly said, Principal, my superpower is out of control. Wang Wuchen stared at Su Shu, his teeth clattering, but when he thought about it carefully, it seemed that he had no way to deal with Su Shu. In this stalemate, 2 minutes finally passed. At the moment when he felt the superpower was restored, Wang Wuchen disappeared directly in Su Shu's arms. Then Wang Wuchen's angry voice suddenly came from between heaven and earth. Su Shu, I'm not done with you. As he spoke, all the students only felt that the space between heaven and earth suddenly solidified, and everyone was instantly unable to move. Su Shu was the same. After trying, he found that even weakness could not be used. Then Su Shu felt that the surrounding space began to squeeze him crazily. It's over. There were only 2 words in Su Shu's mind. But he couldn't just sit there and wait for death, so he quickly mobilized his superpowers and input them into the forbidden horn on his body. Suddenly, he felt his whole body lighten, and the surrounding squeeze disappeared instantly. This result surprised Su Shu very much. This forbidden horn could actually remove the space confinement superpower. He just tried it and didn't hold out hope, but the result gave him a big surprise. The confinement was lifted, and Su Shu immediately used weakness. In an instant, all the students felt their bodies lighten, and the confinement around them was all lifted. Then Wang Wuchen appeared in Su Shu's arms, looking at Su Shu with a confused face. A terrifying feeling of powerlessness in his heart attacked Wang Wuchen's whole body, and the feeling of having power but nowhere to use it made him feel uncomfortable all over. Su Shu smiled. Principal, why are you so angry? I really lost control of my ability. Wang Wuchen was puzzled. How did you remove my space confinement? Su Shu thought for a while and said seriously, maybe it has something to do with my ability. Didn't you say that my ability is from the space system? Wang Wuchen's eyes widened, with disbelief on his face. Impossible, the strength difference is too big, even if it is the same system, it will not be affected. Su Shu shook his head. Then I don't know, maybe my ability is natural beauty. Wang Wuchen was speechless. Natural beauty, your sister. Is this idiom used to describe this? Wait for me, I'll call someone later. At this time, the classmates around were also shocked. After all, the principal's space confinement ability was actually broken by Su Shu. How could this be possible? You tell me that this is something that the Black Iron E-level ability can do. I'm afraid they have lived for more than 10 years in vain. At the same time, some classmates who also have E-level quality abilities suddenly felt a surge of emotions in their hearts. Su Shu's E-level talent is so amazing, so why can't they do it? Compared with Su Shu, they are not much worse. Suddenly, these students felt that they were able to do it again. After 2 minutes of anxiety, Wang Wuchen's ability was restored again, and then he disappeared directly in Su Shu's arms and never appeared again. All the students stared with wide eyes and kept looking for the principal Wang Wuchen on the playground, but they couldn't see him. Finally, the vice principal walked up to the podium and picked up the microphone. Today's morning meeting is here, everyone adjourn. After hearing this, the students dispersed one after another. On the way back to the classroom, many people in the class gave Su Shu a thumbs up. However, there were still many classmates who cast gloating expressions. After all, Su Shu would definitely bear the endless anger of the principal next. Su Shu was not too worried about this. At most, he would throw a few more weak and powerless people to the principal. However, just after a class, Su Shu was called to the office by the principal. As soon as he entered, the head teacher slammed the office door. This scene made Su Shu feel flustered. Turning his head, he saw the principal Wang Wuchen and a middle-aged man standing there, staring at him with a smile. The middle-aged man couldn't help but turn around and ask Wang Wuchen, "Xiaochen, can't you cure this student?" Wang Wuchen was also helpless. "Teacher, his ability is weird, I can't do anything with him, he is bold and dares to do anything." The middle-aged man was surprised. "You are a gold-level ability user, but you can't do anything with a black iron-level ability user. What have you done in the past few years since you graduated? Have you made any progress?" Wang Wuchen immediately retorted, "Teacher, his ability is very weird. The E-level black iron ability can actually make me, a gold level 1, lose my combat ability. You may not have any idea about this, let me put it this way, this kid used his ability yesterday, together with 2 other ability users, to catch a black iron overlord beast." The other party was also surprised after hearing this, and looked at Su Shu with surprise on his face. Listening to the two people's discussion, especially when he heard Wang Wuchen calling the other party teacher, Su Shu suddenly felt something was wrong, and couldn't help but throw a weak and powerless one to the middle-aged man. But it would definitely not work. Since Wang Wuchen invited the other party, he must be stronger than Wang Wuchen, so Su Shu's ability would not be able to do anything to the other party. At the moment when Su Shu threw out the ability, the other party also noticed it, frowned directly, and narrowed his eyes slightly. "This ability is really weird, and you were really brave enough to use it on me." Su Shu smiled awkwardly. "Well, this power of mine is actually very unstable and often gets out of control." After hearing this, the middle-aged man turned to look at Wang Wuchen, asking if it was true. Wang Wuchen immediately gritted his teeth. "Don't believe him, this kid doesn't tell the truth. Teacher, why don't we just beat him? If we don't beat him now, he will grow up in the future, and we will have nothing to do with him." When Su Shu heard this, he shrank back in fright. "What are you going to do? You can't do this, I will sue you for corporal punishment of students." However, the two of them ignored him at all and just held Su Shu down and beat him up. The beating lasted for an unknown amount of time, and they did not stop until Su Shu's nose was bruised and his face was swollen. Wang Wuchen was panting from the beating, and he directly picked up Su Shu's collar and asked, "Do you dare to unleash your superpower on me next time?" Su Shu's eyes were swollen into slits. "I'll dare you next time." After hearing this, Wang Wuchen became very angry and beat him again. In the end, it was Su Shu who begged for mercy before he stopped. It was only in the afternoon when the announcement about Su Shu's punishment came down, a warning and 1 credit deducted. I have to say that this result is too light, and many people are aggrieved by it. However, everyone felt some comfort when they heard that Su Shu had a bruised nose and face when he came out of the principal's office. Of course, Li Yafei and Huang Shijun knew the reason why the punishment was so light. It was precisely because Su Shu caught an overlord beast yesterday. For such an outstanding student, no matter how excessive he is, as long as it does not involve the bottom line, he will usually be favored. Although he knew the reason, Huang Shijun was still extremely dissatisfied. At this time, he was standing in front of the bulletin board, staring intently at the announcement about Su Shu's punishment. He couldn't help but clench his teeth and clenched his fists until his veins bulged. He was dissatisfied in his heart. He should be Luo and Yigao's most dazzling and proud man, and he should be the one who should be favored the most. At this time, he only had one thought in his mind: if there was no Su Shu, then everything would belong to him, and his light would no longer be obscured. Thinking of this, Huang Shijun gritted his teeth and took out his mobile phone and sent a message: "Operation in the afternoon, school will be over at 4 o'clock. After a long period of suffering, I finally made it to the end of school." The pain that kept coming from his body made Su Shu not want to stay in school for a minute, so he ran out of the school gate and ran towards home. However, when passing by an alley, he was stopped by a man in black. The man looked at Su Shu carefully, and then asked softly, "Are you Luo An's unusual height?" Su Shu nodded. "Yes." The man in black then asked, "Do you know a man named Su Shu?" As he said that, the man took out a photo to show to Su Shu. It is indeed Su Shu in the photo, but it is very different from the Su Shu who is now bruised and swollen. Su Shu's eyes suddenly rolled, and he immediately gritted his teeth and said, "Yes, this is the one from Su Shu." The man in black was surprised. "Do you have a grudge against him?" Su Shu nodded quickly. "Of course, that guy not only charges toilet fees indiscriminately at school, but also often sneaks in to watch boys use the toilet. It's really unforgivable. I can't wait to cut him into pieces." Seeing this, the man in black nodded seriously. "That's just right, you take me to find him, and I will help you teach him a lesson." Su Shu didn't even think about it, and nodded vigorously. Let's go now, you come with me." Immediately, Su Shu took the man in black back to the school gate and waited. Just more than 10 minutes later, Su Shu suddenly stood up. "I seem to have missed it, come with me." Although the man in black was confused, he didn't think much and quickly followed. Soon, the two came to a small alley, and then Su Shu rushed forward. On the way, he suddenly took out a sack from his pocket, unfolded it, and then jumped up and put it on the head of the person in front. The other party also noticed Su Shu's sudden arrival and quickly wanted to use supernatural defense. The result was that the superpower was suddenly interrupted, and then his whole body became weak and collapsed to the ground. That's right, it was Huang Shijun who was covered in sacks. At this time, there was only one sentence in the other party's mind: "God Su Shu." Pulling the sack holding the other party, Su Shu quickly turned around and motioned for the man in black to come over. "Hurry up, I've caught Su Shu." The man in black was also confused and couldn't help but ask, "Are you sure he is Su Shu?" Su Shu immediately gritted his teeth. "Get out of here, even if it turns into ashes, I know it." The man in black was still a little surprised after hearing this. Listening to the conversation between the two, Huang Shijun felt his heart skip a beat, and then he struggled to speak. "I'm not Su Shu, he is Su Shu." After hearing this, Su Shu didn't panic at all. He pointed at Huang Shijun and said to the man in black, "Did you hear that? He is Su Shu. I dare not admit it. You are so anxious that you said I am Su Shu. You have also compared the photos." "I not at all." The man in black, who was still doubtful at first, immediately believed it, and stepped forward directly. At the same time, the power in his hand fluctuated, and a mace appeared in his hand, and then he raised it and smashed it at Huang Shijun. Bang! Ah! There was a muffled sound, mixed with Huang Shijun's deafening scream, blood splattered everywhere, and the sound of broken bones was heard. Su Shu was slightly startled when he saw this scene. This person was actually a bronze-level weapon superpower. "I'm not Su Shu, I'm Huang Shijun." Huang Shijun yelled in pain. Su Shu hurriedly stepped forward and came to the man in black. "Look, he is pretending to be someone else. Huang Shijun is our school's double SS level gifted superpower user. Since you said you are him, you have the ability to release superpowers." Huang Shijun's face was confused when he was trapped in a sack. His powers are all locked up and can't be released at all. The man in black became furious after hearing this. "You still don't admit it. You're pretending to be someone else." As he spoke, he picked up the mace and smashed it down again. Bang! Click! Ah! There was a muffled sound mixed with the sound of bones breaking, followed by Huang Shijun's heart-rending screams of pain. "I'm really not Su Shu." Huang Shijun was so aggrieved that he burst into tears. The man in black looked stunned. You still don't admit it. As he spoke, he raised the mace again and was about to continue beating. PFF'd. But at this moment, the man in black felt a pain in his back. He quickly turned around and saw a face that was as fat as a pig's head, smiling strangely at him. This face is destined to become a nightmare in this life. Then, something happened that frightened the man in black. He only felt that all his powers were passing away, and the mace in his hand began to dissipate little by little as the powers passed away. You deprived me of my powers. The man in black asked with disbelief on his face. An unusually ugly smile appeared on Su Shu's pig-headed face, but he said nothing. Because at this time, Su Shu only felt a burst of information about the mace's superpower, and he was currently digesting it. In extreme confusion, the man in black gradually closed his eyes and fell into a coma. The forbidden angle deprived him of his superpowers, along with his body functions, causing him to fall into a coma. Su Shu put away the forbidden corner, then walked out of the alley leisurely and went directly to his home. After a long time, Huang Shijun finally recovered and hurriedly opened the sack on his head. At this time, there was only the man in black lying unconscious next to him, and the other man seemed to have left long ago. Multiple fractures on his body caused him pain all over his body and he was unable to get up. He could only reluctantly take out his mobile phone and call the police. Soon the police car came and took Huang Shijun and the unconscious man in black to the hospital. After all, this was a vicious wounding incident, which directly attracted great attention. Soon the supernatural army came over and conducted a series of cross-examinations on Huang Shijun. Of course Huang Shijun explained the situation clearly. Because Huang Shijun mentioned Su Shu on the way and it involved the preliminaries, this incident immediately alerted Zhao Xilan, who rushed over immediately. After yesterday's incident, Su Shu has attracted the attention of his superiors. As his superior, Zhao Xilan must pay attention to it, otherwise if something goes wrong, he, Zhao Xilan, will not be able to escape his claws. After arriving at the hospital, Zhao Xilan questioned him again. After listening, Zhao Xilan frowned and asked Huang Shijun, "What do you mean? That person was originally going for Su Shu, but mistakenly thought you were Su Shu. Is one of them Su Shu?" Huang Shijun nodded quickly, but the violent movements affected his injuries, and he suddenly grinned in pain. Zhao Xilan frowned. "Are you kidding me? Since the target of the man in black is Su Shu, why doesn't he recognize him? Instead, he thinks you are Su Shu. Do you think it's possible?" Huang Shijun panicked after hearing this, but he didn't know how to explain it. He also roughly understood that the man in black was sent from there, but he was somehow tricked by Su Shu into messing with him on the way, which was really puzzling. I know his superpower. He used it on me and it made me powerless. The superpower can't be released either. Huang Shijun suddenly thought of the other party's superpower against him at the beginning, so he quickly explained. In fact, there was one more thing. He was certain that it was Su Shu, the one who put the sack around him. He had been trapped twice before, so he was familiar with it. This time was no different from the previous two times. Zhao Xilan, you mean, Su Shu brought the man in black to beat you, and then he made the man in black unconscious? Do you think I'm a fool? What was his purpose for doing this? Forehead. Huang Shijun was speechless for a moment and didn't know how to explain it. At this time, a supernatural soldier walked into the ward. "Sir Zhao, the unconscious man is awake." Zhao Xilan stood up and glanced at Huang Shijun, then turned around and followed the supernatural army out. Soon, Huang Shijun came to the ward where the man in black was. Before entering, I heard a crazy roar coming from outside. "My powers! You took away my powers! Ah! I want to call the police." These words shocked Zhao Xilan and he quickly walked in. In the ward, the man in black was pressed on the bed by several superpower soldiers, struggling frantically. As soon as he came in, the other party stared at Zhao Xilan frantically. "Did you deprive me of my superpowers?" Zhao Xilan frowned, went forward to check, and then suddenly found that there was no superpower fluctuation in the other party's body. This is impossible, because no matter what, everyone will awaken superpowers, but the quality is good or bad. This is the first time in Zhao Xilan's life that he has seen an ordinary person without superpowers. Once you lose your superpowers, it is equivalent to losing everything. You can't get new superpowers by absorbing superpowers the next day, because they no longer have superpowers in their bodies and can't attract and absorb the superpowers of superpowers. The other party was very unstable because he was deprived of his superpowers. Zhao Shilin waited for a long time, and only began to interrogate him after his emotions stabilized. Anyway, he had lost his superpowers, and the man in black had lost the light in his eyes, and he no longer concealed it. I am actually a member of the dark web. Zhao Shilin was shocked after hearing this. The dark web is a dark organization spread all over the world, mainly engaged in assassination, trafficking of living superpowers, and human organs. The people of the dark web are omnipresent, hiding among the crowds of countries all over the world. No one knows whether the people around them are their people. This is also an organization that all countries hate. Zhao Shilin. In other words, you received the task of assassinating Su Shu this time, right? The other party nodded. Yes, the organization gave the photo and the time when the other party was off school, and then I came here. The reward is a black iron overlord beast. I have reached the bronze level for a long time. I can't resist the temptation of this overlord beast, so I took this task. But after I came, I waited and waited, but I didn't meet the person named Su Shu. Instead, I met a student with a bruised face, so I asked him if he knew Su Shu, and then the other party took me there. Needless to say, what happened afterwards was exactly the same as what Huang Shijun said. Zhao Shilin's mouth twitched after hearing this. How could he not know that the other party was Su Shu? Zhao Shilin certainly would not tell the other party the truth. He directly handed the other party over to the relevant department of the superpower army, and then left the hospital and went to Su Shu's home. At this time, Su Shu was unpacking a package. This was the crystal core of the overlord beast that he had just received from the post station. Su Shu was very much looking forward to this crystal core. He expected that he would reach the bronze level before absorbing all the crystal cores. After unpacking it, a fist-sized crystal core appeared in front of Su Shu. It was the first time that Su Shu saw a crystal core of the overlord level. He was amazed. It was more than 3 times larger than the overlord. When he picked it up and held it in his hand, a sense of fulfillment rushed straight into Su Shu's heart. The extremely pure supernatural fluctuations inside made the supernatural powers in Su Shu's body dance with it. No matter which level of overlord beast crystal core, it is a very precious resource. It is difficult to buy it outside even if you have money. If Su Shu was not a pre-selected soldier and could exchange it through the military merit system, he would basically not be able to touch it in this life. Just when Su Shu was about to climb onto the bed and start absorbing and improving, he did not notice that snowflakes suddenly fell outside. Then Su Shu found that his superpowers were suddenly frozen and could not be used. The superpowers in the overlord crystal core in his hand seemed to be frozen and lost their fluctuations. Su Shu's heart tightened immediately, and he hurriedly tried to take the forbidden horn, but found that he could not make any movements at all and his body could not move. Only his eyes and mouth could move. Then a figure pushed open the window and walked in front of Su Shu. Su Shu hurriedly said, "Captain Zhao, don't be like this. You came here, why did you freeze my superpowers?" Zhao Shilin didn't say anything, but looked at Su Shu, then frowned. "No. Your superpowers are not bronze level, how can you deprive others of their superpowers?" At first, Zhao Shilin thought that Su Shu had reached the bronze level, so he used the empty superpower position to deprive the superpowers of the deep net man. For this reason, he hurried over. You must know that his expectations for Su Shu are very high. Not only him, but also all the superpower army leaders who pay attention to Su Shu have high expectations for Su Shu. Therefore, Su Shu's bronze level ability position became the top priority. If Su Shu really used such an important position to deprive a low-quality ability, then his life might be ruined. This is also the reason why Zhao Shilin was so anxious. Su Shu hurriedly said, "What are you talking about, Chief Zhao? Why don't I understand?" Su Shu couldn't help but panic. No matter who it was, he would panic if he couldn't move his whole body. Seeing that Su Shu had not reached the bronze level, Zhao Shilin simply stopped panicking and sat down next to Su Shu. "How did you deprive the other party of his ability?" Su Shu asked back. "What do you mean by depriving the other party of his ability?" "Chief, are you talking about what happened in the afternoon?" I didn't deprive the other party of his ability. I just knocked him out and left. Zhao Shilin frowned, and suddenly realized in his heart that it should be someone who came to deprive the other party of his ability after Su Shu knocked him out. In other words, there was someone present or passing by at the time. Who was this person? He actually wasted a precious ability position to deprive this kind of ability. If you want to deprive a living superpower of their superpowers, the requirements are very strict, and there must be a vacant position. So most people will not waste it, and even if they want to deprive them of their superpowers, they will deprive those with very high quality superpowers. Zhao Shilin nodded. No, I just have something to say to you. Su Shu. Then untie it for me. It's too uncomfortable to be unable to move like this. Zhao Shilin thought about it, and it was true, so he used his supernatural power to instantly unfreeze Su Shu. Su Shu quickly twisted his waist, and then instantly launched his supernatural power on Zhao Shilin. Ah! Zhao Shilin instantly came to Su Shu's arms, and suddenly, the four eyes met. Zhao Shilin turned his face with anger. Su Shu, what are you doing? Is this how you treat your superiors? In fact, Zhao Shilin froze Su Shu's supernatural power at the beginning because he was afraid that he would do this, but in the end he was fooled by the other party. Su Shu looked down at Zhao Shilin and said affectionately, Chief Zhao, I actually like men, just obey me tonight. Zhao Shilin felt his chrysanthemum tightened after hearing this, and quickly said, Su Shu, don't do this. Don't. There was obvious fear in his voice, and it was obvious that he was also afraid that Su Shu would do it for real. The main thing is that Su Shu's ability is too abnormal. He can't move and can't release his ability, which means he can't resist. If Su Shu really does it, Zhao Shilin can't imagine the consequences. Then Su Shu's face returned to seriousness. Okay, I'm just kidding you, your chrysanthemum is too old, it's not suitable for me. Just say whatever you want to say. Zhao Shilin was speechless. Then you should put me next to you. It's uncomfortable to keep doing this. Su Shu shook his head directly after hearing this. Don't let go, just say that. Zhao Shilin cursed in his heart, and after he calmed down, he said, the top management of the supernatural army has paid attention to you, and specially asked me to come over and give you some precautions. Your bronze level supernatural position is very important, I hope you must pay attention to it. Don't absorb random powers. Speaking of this, Su Shu couldn't help but be curious, and asked some doubts in his mind. Sir Zhao, which aspect do you think my second power is good for? Zhao Shilin thought for a while and then said, your first ability is related to space and control. It would be good to choose the space type, or one with good lethality. After all, attack is your shortcoming. If you can absorb a good quality attack power, and then use it with your first power, you will be invincible. Don't underestimate the coordination between powers. If the coordination between many powers that are not very high quality is perfect, it is even possible to achieve the SSS power effect. Su Shu was surprised after hearing this. SSS level effect. You must know that SSS level superpowers are as powerful as destroying heaven and earth. There are only a few of them in the world, and there are only 5 existing ones in China. Afraid that Su Shu would not believe it, Zhao Shilin explained again. The Sword Emperor, one of the 5 emperors of China, is just 2 low-quality superpowers that work together and are invincible. Even the other 4 emperors can only look up to him. This was the first time Su Shu heard this statement, and he was inexplicably horrified. At this time, Zhao Shilin finally recovered. He stood up and said, okay, I have said everything that needs to be said, and I will leave first. After saying that, he stood up, got out of the window, and flew out. But not long after taking off, a cough suddenly came from a window in Su Shu's room. Zhao Shilin was startled and felt his scalp numb. He quickly raised his hands towards the window and said, I won't dare next time, kid. But there was no response, so Zhao Shilin breathed a sigh of relief and flew away quickly. Zhao Shilin also understood what the other party meant, and he would never do it again. Just say what you have to say, don't use your powers on Su Shu. After Su Shu saw Zhao Shilin leaving, he quickly went over to close the window and locked it, then climbed into bed and started absorbing the crystal core. It has to be said that the purity of the superpower of the Overlord crystal core is really very pure. Just as soon as it is absorbed, Su Shu feels comfortable all over, and the superpower in his body is growing crazily at a speed visible to the naked eye. Su Shu predicted that if he continued to absorb it like this, he would be able to reach the bronze level in less than 2 months. In the next few days, news of the outbreak of various strange beast gates suddenly came from various places. The whole of China is in a solemn atmosphere, and even the students of Luo'an's high school can feel this atmosphere. When Su Shu came back from school on Friday, he found that his father Su Yixin was not at home. He couldn't help but ask his mother, "Mom, where is my dad?" Mother Su replied while cooking, "He has a project and is traveling far away. Let me tell you, go to school hard and follow him to learn to drive an excavator after graduation." Su Shu was speechless after hearing this. "Mom, I am a person with dual powers after all. Do I really want to drive an excavator?" Mother Su, "Otherwise, what else can you do?" Su Shu was speechless and didn't explain much. After finishing the meal, he returned to the room. Just as he was about to climb into bed and continue absorbing the alien beast crystal core, his phone rang. I picked it up and saw that it was from Wang Yushan. Su Shu suddenly felt his scalp numb. Could it be that the village boy took Wang Yuxian's mobile phone to send it again? It can be said that he was bitten by a snake once and was afraid of well ropes for 10 years. Su Shu really didn't want to be fooled a second time. Fortunately, what Wang Yushan posted was not the same as last time. Su Shu, the village students have been so arrogant in school these days. They actually proclaimed themselves emperor in school and even held a special enthronement ceremony. As a result, he was sent back by the principal, and then his father hung him up and beat him seriously. If you have time tomorrow, come and see him. If you don't come, maybe. Seeing the message sent by Wang Yushan, Su Shu could not recover for a long time. Because he felt that his outlook on life had been horribly impacted and had exploded. Originally he thought he was invincible, but he didn't expect someone to be braver than him. Whose general is this? Su Shu will definitely go. Not to mention worrying about the other party, at least you have to laugh at the village students. Otherwise, if you miss this opportunity, you will have to wait until the year of the monkey and the horse again. After replying to Wang Yushan that he would go tomorrow, Su Shu climbed into bed to absorb the crystal core. Early the next morning, Su Shu took a taxi to a village based on Wang Yuxian's address. What surprised Su Shu was that here, birds were singing and flowers were fragrant, springs were flowing all year round, and cattle and sheep adorned the beautiful hills. As soon as he got off the car, Su Shu saw a commercial vehicle parked in front of a house. This car is very familiar to Su Shu, after all, he has ridden in it 2 or 3 times. Su Shu couldn't help muttering in his heart, Wang Yushan came so early. As if he heard the movement of the car outside, Wang Yushan walked out and waved to Su Shu, "Su Shu, this way." Su Shu walked over and entered the house under the leadership of Wang Yushan. As soon as he entered, Su Shu saw a photo frame on the table, which contained a black and white photo of Marao. Su Shu's heart sank, and he walked forward slowly, picked up the photo with both hands, and said sadly, "Musheng, I'm late. It was fine a few days ago, but it's only been a few days. Why is it gone? How can I live like this? Why don't you give me the things you exchanged in the past few days before you leave? If you leave like this, those things will be wasted." Woo 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 woo. Wang Yushan, who was standing at the back, felt quite sad at first, but couldn't help rolling her eyes after hearing the latter part. As expected, Su Shu and Kunsheng are not good people. You can't judge them by common sense. While Su Shu was crying, Kunsheng's head popped out of a room. "Brother Shu, what are you doing? I'm not dead." Su Shu turned his head and was stunned for a moment, then ran over and hugged Kunsheng in his arms. "Kunsheng, why don't you die? I'm so happy for nothing." As he said that, he raised his hand and slapped Kunsheng's shoulder hard. The force was so heavy that even though Kunsheng had amazing defense, he was still grimacing in pain. Finally, the villager hurriedly pushed Su Shu away. "Brother Shu, stop taking pictures, or you will really kill me. Don't worry, bad people don't live long, good people will live for 1,000 years, and good people like me will be fine if they don't live for 1,000 years. Su Shu couldn't help rolling his eyes. Only turtles live for 1,000 years. Tell me, what's the matter this time that you tricked me to come here? Wang Yushan stepped forward. Pre-selection mission. Su Shu was surprised. Why didn't I receive a notice from Chief Zhao? You know, Zhao Shilin was at Su Shu's house a few nights ago. He even hugged him, but when there was a mission, he only notified Wang Yushan and the others and didn't even notify Su Shu. Wang Yushan, because the matter to be investigated this time is not far from here, let us notify you to come over. Su Shu, what exactly happened? Wang Yushan, recently, there was a village next to us where 7 people died in a row, but it didn't seem to be man-made, so it was suspected that it was a monster that hurt people, so let us go over to investigate. The village where Kun Sheng's family is located is called Kaoshan Village, and the village where the accident occurred is called Dongzong Village. When the 3 of them arrived in a commercial vehicle, a group of people had already arrived in advance. What surprised the 3 of them was that Li Yafei also came, followed by 3 people, 2 of whom Su Shu had seen before. These are the 2 I saw at Chuwu Gate last time. There is another one I haven't seen before, maybe one of their teammates, who hasn't been to the gate of Chouwu before. Because Huang Shijun was injured and hospitalized, Li Yafei became their substitute, completing the 4-person team. Seeing Su Shu and the others, Li Yafei was slightly surprised at first, and then walked away without looking at them. Apparently, in front of her former teammates, she openly joined another team, and her face was also dull. The most important thing is that Li Yafei actually applied for the change of team, not Zhao Shilin's deployment. After seeing them, the man who had been beaten by Su Shu before walked directly to the man in military uniform and whispered, "Sir, they were the ones who beat me last time. Don't make it easy for them this time." The person he called the commander was named Ma Liangshu, and he was the assessment commander of their team's preliminaries. Of course, Ma Liangshu had to protect his own people, so after seeing the 3 Su Shus walking towards this side, he angrily yelled, "What are you doing? Stay away and don't come over." The 3 of them stopped after hearing this. Wang Yushan frowned and said, "We are the qualifiers for Chief Zhao Shilin, and we are here to investigate the deaths of villagers in Dongzong Village." Zhao Shilin, who is he? Even if he comes, I won't blame him, let alone you, get away. This mission has nothing to do with you. Ma Liangshu looked like he didn't take Zhao Shilin seriously. In such a way, he shouted loudly. The moment he finished speaking, Su Shu released his hand holding the phone, "Send it out. Let's see what Chief Zhao says." Seeing this, Ma Liangshu's eyes couldn't help but widen. He just said it casually. If Zhao Shilin really came, he wouldn't dare to say that. What he didn't expect was that the person in front of him would be such a jerk. He would record his words and send them to the other party. It would be strange if Zhao Shilin didn't come to settle the score with him later when Zhao Shilin had free hands. Turning around, he looked at Su Shu angrily. "What are you doing? Withdraw the information, otherwise I will never be done with you." Su Shu spread his hands. "What can you do to me? Hit me, do you dare?" Ma Liangshu opened his mouth, but no words came out. Indeed, what could he do? Beat the soda tree? Obviously it can't be beaten. He is an official supernatural force and is subject to many rules. If he really takes action against a qualifier, there will be absolutely no good results. Seeing this, Su Shu made a face directly at Ma Liangshu. He likes situations where others see him unhappy and have nothing to do with him. The 3 people next to Li Yafei stood there dumbfounded. It was the first time they had seen someone dare to do this to their superior. You must know that Ma Liangshu is a gold-level superpower, and he is also an official superpower. And what about Su Shu? He's just a black iron superpower. Li Yafei was not surprised by this. After all, she had personally seen Su Shu take action against the principal. However, after offending Ma Liangshu, Su Shu and the others' next actions were destined to be unsatisfactory. When Ma Liangshu and his party went to check the body, Su Shu and the others were about to follow. But he was suddenly blocked by 2 other supernatural troops. Chief Ma said, "You are not worthy to enter it." After hearing this, the village student rolled up his sleeves and said, "Hey, I have such a bad temper." Seeing that the village students were about to take action, Su Shu quickly said coldly, "They are at least silver level, and Wang Yushan and I won't be able to get there." After hearing this, the village student froze when he was about to take action, then turned to look at Su Shu, lay down next to Su Shu's ear and whispered softly, You use your powers to knock them down. Wang Yushan and I promise to beat them up. The worst we can do is step on a sewing machine for a while. Su Shu shook his head and turned away. Seeing Su Shu like this, Wang Yushan glared at the two supernatural soldiers and could only turn around and follow Su Shu. Kun Sheng was not joking. If Su Shu really fell in love, she and Kun Sheng would definitely do it. The three of them came to the open space, and Su Shu reached into his pocket and took out something. Kun Sheng's eyes suddenly lit up. Brother Shu, do you have any secret weapon? Wang Yushan also looked at Su Shu expectantly, hoping that he could come up with some important treasure to break the game. In the expectant eyes of the two people, Su Shu took out a deck of playing cards. Come on, let's fight the landlord. The village student was speechless and curled his lips. It's already this time, how can I still be in the mood to fight the landlords? Su Shu turned his head and glanced at the place where the corpse was parked, and then said, You don't understand, so many supernatural troops came to investigate this matter. It must not be simple, we qualifiers are actually here to gain experience. So we actually can't complete this mission at all, so there is no need to bite the bullet and get involved. After hearing this, the village student simply sat down and said, What you said makes sense. I can't refute it. Come on, let's fight the landlord. Then the three of them sat on the ground and started fighting with the landlord. When Ma Liangshu and the others came out, their faces were unknowingly covered with notes. At this time, the game was just over. Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan lost. Su Shu took out the note, licked it, and drooled. Come on, Kun Sheng, I'll put it on you first. The village student was speechless and could only stretch his head over and let Su Shu touch it. Then Su Shu took out another piece of paper and smeared it with saliva. Come on, Wang Yushan, I'll put it on you. Wang Yushan looked disgusted. Are you disgusting? You made my face full of your saliva. Su Shu, bullshit, I just saw you licking it quietly. Wang Yuxian's eyes widened after hearing this, and her murderous eyes rushed straight to Su Shu's face. You want to die. After saying that, she pounced on Su Shu and the two of them started to wrestle. Humph, I gave you the salary for the pre-selection, and I'm going to go on a mission, just to let you play, right? Ma Liangshu looked angry. I have sent the scene of you playing cards just now to the higher-ups, and I will submit an application later to expel you from the pre-selection qualification. The pre-selection does not need people who eat for free. Su Shu and the other two stopped after hearing this, and turned to look at Ma Liangshu at the same time. The villager stood up and pointed at Ma Liangshu. You old fool, you really think I dare not scold you, right? How did we offend you? Why do you want to be so hard on us? Wang Yushan also angrily retorted, Old idiot. Su Shu didn't say anything, but his eyes kept turning, as if he was thinking and weighing the pros and cons. Ma Liangshu couldn't help it when he heard the two people scolding him. His supernatural power suddenly burst out, leaving a residual image in the air, and instantly appeared in front of the villager. Then he raised his hand and grabbed the villager and lifted him up. You insulted the commander of the supernatural army, today let me teach you what is politeness. Chapter 51. Kun Sheng looked at Ma Liangshu angrily. If you have the guts, you can kill me. The superpower army can't be so reckless, right? Ma Liangshu, I can't kill you, but at least I can keep you out of bed for a few months. What do you think you are? I am a gold-level superpower after all. Do you really think I can't do anything to you? As he said this, he lifted Kun Sheng with one hand and raised the other hand, about to hit Kun Sheng in the face. Judging from the superpower fluctuations coming from his hand, this punch will knock Kun Sheng's head crooked. The lightest is a facial fracture. Looking at the increasingly large fist, Kun Sheng's heart couldn't help but tighten. The superpower in his body seemed to have sensed it, and suddenly released itself. The earth-yellow armor instantly covered Kun Sheng's whole body, including his head, and was tightly protected. Ma Liangshu's face was ferocious. Do you think a mere black iron-level earth armor can stop a gold superpower? As soon as he finished speaking, his fist had already landed on Kun Sheng's face. But just when he touched the armor, a sack suddenly fell from the sky and directly covered Ma Liangshu. Then Ma Liangshu's groan came from the sack. Ah! The whole person fell down and fell into Su Shu's arms. The village student fell down and then rushed up directly. I'll beat you to death, you old fool. After that, his fists and feet had already landed on Ma Liangshu's head. Wang Yushan and Su Shu did not sit still and wait for death, and they kept punching and kicking Ma Liangshu in the face. Ah, ah, the shrill screams resounded throughout the village. Li Yafei and others over there were dumbfounded. Not to mention Ma Liangshu's identity as a superpower army, just talking about his strength, he is a gold-level superpower. How dare they press him to the ground and ravage him? How dare they? At this time, the four people had only one thought in their minds. Don't mess with these three people, even if you kill them. The one who knew it best was Li Yafei, she knew Su Shu best. This was a master who dared to release his supernatural powers even to the principal, so what else could he not dare to do? After fighting for a long time, seeing that the time of weakness was coming, Su Shu waved his hand quickly, and the other two immediately understood. Then the three of them sat back in the empty space before and continued to play landlord. After a long time, Ma Liangshu finally recovered, frantically pulled open the sack on his head, revealing a pig-like face, and then saw the three people playing landlord. You dare to hit me? I will make you wish you were dead. Su Shu turned around in surprise. Captain Ma, what do you mean? We have been playing landlord here, there are some things that cannot be said casually. Ma Liangshu was so angry that he gritted his teeth. You think I don't know if you put a sack on me, right? You dare to attack the superpower army, your reserve career is over. As he said that, Ma Liangshu took out his mobile phone and made a call. Soon, the call was connected. Captain Ding Hemu, I have something to report. A superpower soldier attacked me. The other end of the phone responded immediately. Ma Liangshu, if I remember correctly, you are a second-class sergeant. Gold level, no matter how great the potential of the pre-selected soldiers is, you haven't broken through to the bronze level yet, right? Now you actually tell me that you were attacked by the pre-selected soldiers of the black iron level, do you think I'm an idiot? Since the other party is committing a crime, you should just teach them a lesson. After hearing this, Ma Liangshu quickly explained, Captain, the other party has a superpower that prevents people from releasing superpowers, and I can't resist at all. After hearing this, the other party was silent, and asked after a long time, is it Su Shu? Ma Liangshu nodded quickly, yes. Commander, it's him. Ma Liangshu instantly felt hopeful. However, Ding Hemu's next words made Ma Liangshu feel powerless. Why do you have nothing to do with them? They just caught a black iron overlord a few days ago. In terms of military merit, you are not as good as them. I advise you not to provoke them. Colonel Duan Weiman specially listed them as key training targets a few days ago. You can take care of yourself. After saying that, he hung up the phone directly, leaving Ma Liangshu holding the phone in a daze. Black Iron Overlord Beast. It is difficult for him to kill it, let alone capture it alive. At this time, he finally understood why the opponent's Black Iron level ability was effective on him. Nonsense, Black Iron Overlord with the same strength as him can be captured, so it is not surprising that it is effective for him, a gold level ability user. At this time, the phone suddenly rang. When he picked it up, it turned out to be Zhao Xilan calling. Ma Liangshu couldn't help but panic. He didn't want to answer it, but he couldn't not answer it. In the end, he had no choice but to choose to connect. Ma Liangshu, what the hell do you mean? Wait until I have time, I will come to you. Also, if my preliminaries go wrong at your place, we will all be buried together. Ma Liangshu forced a smile. Brother Zhao, it's not what you think. With our relationship, it's okay to make a joke, right? Zhao Xilan, relationship, what the hell do I have to do with you? Don't try to get close to me. You don't deserve it. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Holding the phone, Ma Liangshu's face was gloomy. He didn't expect Zhao Xilan to be so disrespectful to him and directly tore his face off. But even in the face of Zhao Xilan's impoliteness, Ma Liangshu couldn't say a word of rebuttal, because he was actually very afraid of the other party. The difference in their abilities was there. He was no match for Zhao Xilan at all. If they really fought, he wouldn't even have a chance to fight back and would be directly pressed to the ground. When he turned around, he saw Su Shu and the other three looking at him with mocking eyes. He suddenly became very angry, but there was nothing he could do to them. Snort. After snorting, Ma Liangshu turned around and walked away. The four Li Yafei people over there quickly got up and followed. After seeing a few people leaving, Su Shu stood up directly, let's go and see the body. Of course Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan had no objection and stood up to follow. Because they had seen the scene where Su Shu and the others beat Ma Liangshu, no one dared to stop Su Shu and the others and entered directly. In the makeshift shed, 7 bodies covered with white cloths were parked. The 3 of them were not timid, so they stepped forward and opened the white cloth to check. Looking at the rotting corpse, Su Shu touched his chin and said softly, "The deceased must have been alive during his lifetime." Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan were shocked after hearing this, and couldn't help but give Su Shu a thumbs up. "You can see it accurately." Su Shu then said, "The murderer is either a local or an outsider, a human or a strange beast." Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan didn't want to talk to Su Shu anymore and just rolled their eyes. In the end, Wang Yushan was more reliable. "There are still some supernatural fluctuations left on their bodies, but I don't know if they are left by themselves or by killing them. In fact, this is also difficult to determine, otherwise it would be easy to determine whether they died of natural causes or were caused by supernatural powers." "Su Shu, do you have the autopsy report?" Wang Yushan shook his head. "No, maybe Ma Liangshu and others have it, but they can't give it to us." Su Shu frowned and nodded, then took out the forbidden horn from his arms, and inserted it into the corpse in front of him under the disbelieving eyes of Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan. The village student hurriedly stepped forward and grabbed Su Shu's hand. "Brother Shu, don't do that, this is a bit disrespectful to the dead." Su Shu turned his head and looked at the village student in surprise. "When did you become so serious?" The village student: "Brother Shu, what are you talking about? I have always been very serious." Su Shu rolled his eyes and ignored him directly, closing his eyes to digest the information from the forbidden horn. Although the person has been dead for a long time, the remaining superpowers in his body can still be deprived by the forbidden horn. Although this cannot form a complete superpower, it can provide Su Shu with information about superpower fluctuations. There are 2 superpowers in total, one is E-level power enhancement, and the other is C-level mental shock. Pulling out the forbidden horn, Su Shu looked at Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan. "I found 2 kinds of superpowers in the dead. There are probably 2 speculations. One is that a psychic superpower killed them, and the other is that a psychic beast killed them." Wang Yushan frowned after hearing this. "There is no psychic beast gate nearby, how could there be a psychic beast, so it should be a psychic superpower." Kun Sheng suddenly interrupted. "Chief Zhao gave us the task that there may be a new beast gate opened, and asked us to come here to investigate. Can we still not rule out the possibility of a new beast gate opening?" Kun Sheng's words made Su Shu and Wang Yushan frown subconsciously. On the eve of the opening of the beast gate, some special superpowers can be transmitted through the superpower fluctuations of the opening place, and they will indeed hurt people. And the mental system is one of them. After thinking of this, Su Shu closed his eyes and sensed carefully. He is a dual superpower, and he has some special sensitivity to superpower fluctuations, so he can sense the fluctuations before the beast gate opens in advance. In an instant, Su Shu had sensed that there was indeed a special fluctuation not far away. And compared to the previous time in Luoan Mountains, this fluctuation was much stronger. "Go!" Su Shu shouted and ran out directly. Although Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan were a little confused, they hurried to catch up. The 3 of them passed by all the way, without paying any attention to Ma Liangshu and Li Yafei, and hurried away directly. Ma Liangshu looked at them, and he was actually quite confused about why they ran, but the hatred for several people hit his brain all the time, so he didn't think much at all. Soon, Su Shu and the other 2 ran to the hillside in the distance. Kun Sheng said while panting, "There are still many superpowers over there. If we don't remind Ma Liangshu and them, we should remind those superpowers." Su Shu held his chest. "Remind them as the matter of the higher-ups. Wang Yushan, call Chief Zhao quickly, it will be too late if you are late." Wang Yushan did not hesitate, took out her mobile phone and called Zhao Shilin, and told him the general situation. But Zhao Shilin didn't believe it at all. "You said that the gate of the strange beasts was about to be opened. How did you know?" "The reason why Li Yafei was sent over this time is because she has dual superpowers and can sense it. They didn't notify you, but you did. Do you think I will believe it?" Su Shu stepped forward and snatched the phone. "Chief Zhao, we have notified those who should be notified. It is your business whether to deal with it or not. Li Yafei and Ma Liangshu have nothing to do with us if they get into trouble. We even hope that something bad will happen to them. We just feel sorry for the other superpowers. Anyway, we have reported what should be reported. As for the consequences, you will bear them. Quote. Zhao Shilin, what's your attitude? Do you shirk responsibility like this? You should tell me how you know that the gate of the beasts will be opened, right? It's so inexplicable. Don't you think about it. Do I have the right to mobilize Ma Liangshu? I must report to the top leaders to mobilize them. If the news is untrue, it will be my responsibility. As soon as these words came out, even Kunsheng and Wang Yushan turned to look at Su Shu. The two of them were also wondering about this question, but they ran over without hesitation because of their trust in Su Shu. Su Shu was also furious and shouted loudly, I won't pretend anymore, I have dual superpowers. As soon as these words came out, there was silence in an instant, and Wang Yushan and Kunsheng looked at Su Shu with their mouths wide open. Not long after, Zhao Shilin's voice came from the phone, ha 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 ha. Su Shu, you want to retaliate against Ma Liangshu, so you want to tease them like this. Because he heard the recording that Su Shu sent him before, Zhao Shilin speculated that Su Shu and his friends encountered difficulties from Ma Liangshu this time, so they did this. Su Shu was so angry that he gritted his teeth after hearing it. The problem was that he couldn't prove it to Zhao Shilin. Not to mention that Zhao Shilin was not present, even if he was present, his quality improvement ability could not be demonstrated. Anyway, we have done what we should do. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. In the end, Su Shu could only speak helplessly. Zhao Shilin, I don't believe you, you are a bad guy, full of bad water. After saying that, Zhao Shilin hung up the phone directly. Su Shu sighed and returned the phone to Wang Yushan. At this time, the village student couldn't help it. Brother Shu, you really have two superpowers. Su Shu turned his head and looked at the village student. Do you think I'm kidding? The village student shook his head directly. I don't believe it. How can there be two superpowers, one of which is E-level? Don't tell me that your other superpower is also E-level. Generally, dual superpowers are of the same quality. Dual E-level superpowers have never been recorded and have never appeared in history. Su Shu spread his hands. My superpower is a passive superpower and cannot be displayed. Believe it or not. Although they said so, neither of them believed it and looked up at the sky. Su Shu was too lazy to pay attention to them and turned to look at Ma Liangshu and the others. Kunsheng and Wang Yushan also came over. Kunsheng, why didn't Li Yafei sense it? Su Shu, I guess Ma Liangshu didn't think about it at all, so he didn't ask Li Yafei to sense it. Wang Yushan, it may also be because your sense is fake, and he is teasing me and Kunsheng. Kunsheng nodded in agreement. I think it's like this, Brother Shu is just taking revenge, because he is still upset about us lying to him before. Su Shu rolled his eyes. I'm not a petty person. Kunsheng used Wang Yuxian's phone to send me a message to ask me out, and Wang Yushan lied to me that Kunsheng was dying. These two things I actually forgot a long time ago. Kunsheng, then why did you say it so clearly? Su Shu was surprised. Really? I forgot it all. How can I say it clearly? I am a broad-minded person. It is impossible for me to remember it in my heart. Wang Yushan, I think you have engraved it in your bones. Su Shu was about to speak, and his face suddenly changed. Boom boom. Suddenly, a terrifying supernatural power wave hit the sky in the distance. There was only a hiss sound, and a terrifying crack was torn out of the blue sky by a pair of big hands, with black light and terrifying power fluctuations constantly emitting from it. GG. The cry came from the crack. Although the cry sounded gentle and crisp, it carried terrifying mental fluctuations. The closest ones were Ma Liangshu and others, and except for Ma Liangshu, everyone else vomited blood directly after being attacked by the mental wave. Li Yafei, the one with the lowest power level, fell into a coma among the four qualifiers. Ma Liangshu's face turned ugly. Only then did he understand why Su Shu and the others suddenly ran away in a hurry. Apparently they knew that the gate of alien beasts was about to open, so they ran away in advance. However, they didn't remind themselves that they had no awareness of being qualifiers at all. They must report the matter later and expel them directly from the qualifiers. Thinking this way, the first priority is to evacuate quickly, otherwise the large number of people he brought will die here. Hurry up and get the qualifiers away. Evacuate. This gate of strange beasts is bronze level. It is very easy for him to face bronze level alien beasts, but once a lord appears, it will be more difficult for him and he may not be able to defeat him, so he must evacuate quickly. After hearing this, the other supernatural troops came over quickly, carried Li Yafei and the four of them on their shoulders, and ran quickly in one direction. Ma Liangshu fell at the back, and his superpowers burst out, blocking the steady stream of terrifying mental shocks. At this time, on the hill in the distance, Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan were looking at Su Shu as if they were ghosts. Su Shu was speechless after seeing the look in their eyes. Why are you looking at me like that? Kun Sheng. Brother Shu, it's so hard for you to hide this from us. Do you really have double powers? Double E-level powers. Su Shu spread his hands. What did I hide from you? I've been saying it before, but you just don't believe it. Wang Yushan. Why didn't you tell me earlier? You made us doubt you. Su Shu opened his mouth, but was speechless for a moment. Obviously you don't believe it. Now you want to beat me up again. Wang Yushan. We are talking about this mission. Why didn't we say it before? Su Shu was speechless and didn't bother to explain. No matter how he explained it, the two of them would say it was his fault. They just refused to admit that they didn't trust Su Shu. Seeing that Su Shu stopped talking, Mirinsheng finally couldn't help but wonder, Brother Shu, what is your other superpower? Is it to cooperate with your brother to hold this superpower? Su Shu rolled his eyes. You don't believe me anyway, so I'm too lazy to say it. Stop talking, call Chief Zhao and ask him to send someone over quickly. Wang Yushan stopped talking nonsense and took out his cell phone to dial Zhao Shilin again. Soon, the call was connected. Before the other party could speak, Wang Yushan hurriedly said, Sir Zhao, the gate of alien beasts has arrived. It is bronze level. Please send someone over as soon as possible. Zhao Shilin fell silent after hearing this. After a long time, he slowly said, in other words, Su Shu really has two powers. Wang Yushan. Sir Zhao, now is not the time to dwell on this. You'd better send someone over quickly. Zhao Shilin. Then what is his other superpower? Are brothers turning against each other? Wang Yushan. After a long time, Wang Yushan said anxiously, Sir Zhao, are you listening to me? Zhao Shilin. Actually, I just want Ma Liangshu to suffer. Who asked him to scold me? Wang Yushan was speechless. It's another small-minded thing to co-author. Zhao Shilin. Classmate Wang Yushan, please maintain a certain amount of respect for your superior. Wang Yushan pouted and hung up the phone. As for whether Zhao Shilin reported it or not, that was his problem. Jurjurji. A dense sound came from the alien beast gate, and then densely packed weasel-like alien beasts immediately poured out of the alien beast gate. At the same time, spiritual shocks like waves spread out from these strange beasts, and anything they came into contact with was smashed into pieces by this invisible force. Ma Liangshu was the first to bear the brunt and was the first to come into contact with this power. His face was stunned for a moment, and the superpowers on his body radiated crazily. Resist this mental impact, but he could only resist part of it. After all, this kind of spiritual power was pervasive and difficult to resist. The gold-level Ma Liangshu was fine, but Li Yafei and others who were being carried away from behind were not so well off. They were in a coma and showed signs of pain again, obviously being attacked again. Kakaka. The mental impact like water waves continues to spread, and wherever it passes, whether it is flowers, trees, or rocks, everything is destroyed. Let's go quickly. On the hillside in the distance, Su Shu looked at the approaching impact and shouted quickly. Although invisible, the destroyed thing was forming a circle and spreading toward the three of them. If they don't run away, Li Yafei's fate will be their next result. Mental abilities are like this, difficult to defend and irresistible. At this time, the village student did not move and said softly, Brother Shu, my earth armor can resist spiritual attacks. Can I capture a few bronze-level elites or lords by then? Su Shu was surprised. Can it resist spiritual attacks? Are you sure? The village student patted his chest. Of course, I never lie. Su Shu was speechless. I believed it a little, but after you said that, I don't believe it anymore. After hearing this, Kunsheng was anxious. Brother Shu, I feel like we are already facing a crisis of trust. Su Shu rolled his eyes. It's not just the beginning, it's been there for a long time. Although they said so, Su Shu and Wang Yushan did not choose to run, but walked behind Kunsheng tacitly. Ready, Kunsheng said, and then his supernatural power suddenly emanated. Suddenly, a khaki armor appeared on Kunsheng's body, and then spread behind him, and then spread to Su Shu and Wang Yushan, and soon wrapped the three of them tightly. At the same time, the mental shock also arrived, and it directly invaded the three people, but did not cause any harm to the three people. It really works. Su Shu couldn't help but speak in surprise. After hearing this, the village student couldn't help but feel proud. It's an SS level ability after all. If you can't do this kind of defense, it's useless. Squeak, squeak, squeak. While speaking, a crisp cry suddenly came from the gate of the beasts. Then a relatively large weasel beast came out from inside. Because there were too many beasts, it stepped on the bodies of other ordinary beasts. Su Shu and the other two's eyes lit up immediately. Brother Shu, catch it quickly. The village student shouted excitedly. Squeak, squeak. Just when Su Shu was about to activate his ability, a shocking cry suddenly came from the gate of the beasts. In just a moment, Ma Liangshu, who was resisting the herd of beasts, was suddenly attacked by an unknown force. The whole person was directly knocked out by the terrifying force and spit out a large mouthful of blood in the air. Bang! Ma Liangshu fell to the ground, and his chest was scarlet red. He looked up in shock and looked in the direction of the alien beast gate, feeling in disbelief. Originally, he thought that with his gold-level superpower, he would be able to block the impact, but he didn't expect the other party to be so cruel, causing him to be seriously injured. At this time, the terrifying spiritual impact was still spreading to the periphery. Fortunately, Li Yafei and the others had been carried away to a faraway place, and with the resistance of the silver-level supernatural army, they were not harmed. Otherwise, if this happens again, several people will definitely die. In comparison, Su Shu and the other three were much closer. After seeing Ma Liangshu injured, Su Shu had only 3 words in his mind: it's over. At the critical moment, Murakuo suddenly pulled out a huge earth-yellow animal skin from his body and directly covered the 3 of them in it. Give me all your powers. Murakami gritted his teeth and yelled. Su Shu and Wang Yushan did not dare to hesitate, and quickly stepped forward and put their hands on Kun Sheng's shoulders, sending their superpowers to him crazily. In an instant, the skins of the alien beasts on the heads of the 3 people suddenly burst into earthy yellow light. At this time, the terrifying mental shock finally arrived. Boom! The 3 of them, wrapped in khaki exotic animal skins, were knocked out by the invisible terrifying force. Kakaka. Then there was a cracking sound from the alien skin, which split open and broke into several large pieces. Although all the superpowers were used up, luckily the 3 of them managed to survive. Murakuo looked at the exotic animal skin broken into several large pieces with a sad look on his face. The overlord exotic animal skin I just redeemed last time. Su Shu. Stop talking nonsense, let's go. I'll get another overlord another day and just change it. After hearing this, the village student could only nod. However, the 3 of them still couldn't bear to part with the broken overlord exotic animal skin, and they bent down together to pick up the broken pieces. However, since the 3 of them were still protected by the earth armor and did not dare to remove it, they could only walk backwards in cooperation with each other. After all, it was the first time to walk in this way, so the 3 of them were not used to it, so they walked extremely slowly, like a slowly moving centipede. Mersheng, your knee hit my butt. Su Shu couldn't help complaining when he felt the pain in his butt. Murakuo, you don't know how to move forward. Su Shu, if I move forward, I'll hit Wang Yuxian's butt. Wang Yushan, you still have the nerve to complain. I am a young girl living in this broken turtle shell with you. I really don't know how to get married in the future. After hearing this, the village student suddenly became reluctant. Turtle shell. What turtle shell? This is called earth armor. If you have the ability, go out. Su Shu, stop talking nonsense, can we unite a little? If this continues, the 3 of us will sleep here forever. Just as the 3 of them were talking, there was movement again from the gate of alien beasts, and larger bronze elite alien beasts poured out one after another, accompanied by the mental impact they brought. This is the horror of spiritual beasts, as spiritual shocks accompany them at all times. As soon as it appears, whether it is a building or a living thing, it will be a disaster. Their emergence is destined to be a battle for survival for humans. Rumble. Various buildings and trees that had been turned into ruins were once again whipped and destroyed. Seeing that the mental shock was about to come, the three of them quickly shrank into the earth armor, as if a turtle with 3 heads shrank into its shell. Rumble. The impact followed, directly shattering the armor. The 3 of them flew out with the fragments of the armor and landed on the ground. Su Shu got up and ran without any hesitation. If you don't run away, why don't you stay and wait for death? You must know that he has no means of saving his life. Every time he faces the terrifying mental shock, he is terrified. Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan had no intention of stopping and quickly got up to follow Su Shu. The 3 of them kept running towards the outside. GG. At this time, the clear cry came again, and a human-sized weasel beast slowly walked out of the door of the alien beast. It stepped on the body of the alien beast beneath it and walked out with a very high attitude. Su Shu just glanced back subconsciously, suddenly startled with fright, and then moved a little faster. He actually wanted to pull the opponent over directly, but now his power has been exhausted and he can't release it even once. At this time, Ma Liangshu over there finally recovered a little, and he got up and ran to the outside. The terrifying mental shock just now made him understand that this Bronze Lord was not something he could handle. At the same time, the Bronze Lord who had just come out suddenly turned his head and looked at Ma Liangshu who was running away, with surprise in his eyes. Immediately, a milky white light suddenly bloomed in its eyes, and immediately, a terrifying mental shock went straight towards Ma Liangshu. However, Ma Liangshu was not a vegetarian. After feeling the terrifying power fluctuations coming towards him, his body suddenly felt illusory, and then his body suddenly split into 2 and ran in different directions. And after the mental shock arrived, one of them was directly scattered and returned to the illusion. It was obviously a clone. The Bronze Lord Weasel was also startled when he saw this, and then the light in his eyes bloomed crazily. Bang bang bang. Su Shu and the other 3 were running when they suddenly bumped into a transparent wall. The pain made tears well up in their eyes. The 3 of them couldn't help but raise their hands to touch their foreheads, and then raised their hands to touch the transparent wall. A plant suddenly popped up in their hearts. Grass. Su Shu. It's really the grass on the plain. There's no way to escape. Kunshang. It's over, sleep forever. Wang Yushan also touched the transparent wall with despair. As they were talking, there was a noise behind them. The 3 of them turned around and saw Ma Liangshu running over. After seeing the 3 of them, he was also slightly surprised. Why haven't you left yet? Is this a place where you can stay longer? After hearing this, Su Shu and Wang Yushan subconsciously looked at Kunsheng, meaning that this guy meant that he asked us to stay and find an opportunity. When the village student saw the 2 people looking at him, he was speechless. Why are you looking at me? If you are not greedy, will you stay? Ma Liangshu frowned when he saw this, but now is not the time to talk about this. He turned around and blocked the 3 people behind him. I will block the Lord later. If the mental barrier is broken, you will leave quickly. The village student was stunned after hearing this. Captain Ma, we beat you before, don't you blame us? Ma Liangshu said without turning his head. Blame, of course I blame you, I hate you so much, I will never let you go in the future. But that is our personal grudge. Facing the alien beasts, we will always be a united front. You are the future of the superpower army. I can't let the fresh blood of the superpower army die here for my own personal grudge. Su Shu and the other 2 were stunned after hearing this. At this moment, the 3 had a new understanding of Ma Liangshu. Or to say, not only Ma Liangshu, but all superpower armies are like this, and their future must be like this. While talking, the Bronze Lord over there has slowly walked in front of them. Then they saw white light flashing in its eyes, and then the 4 of them suddenly felt unable to move. All 4 people were frozen in place, with only their eyes able to move. GG. The Lord shouted, and then walked to Ma Liangshu step by step. He raised his paws and slowly grabbed Ma Liangshu. Although the speed was not fast, it contained terrifying power fluctuations. It was obvious that its claws also had spiritual powers. If you are caught, you will definitely not be easy, at the very least you will be brain dead. Seeing the claws getting closer and closer, Ma Liangshu's heart was in his throat. He wanted to release his superpower, but there was nothing he could do. His powers are basically action-based, and now that he can't move, he can't release his powers. Pictures of his life flashed through his mind unconsciously, a pale smile appeared unconsciously, and he closed his eyes unconsciously, waiting for death to come. He knew that Su Shu and the others would definitely not be able to escape. Just when Lord Weasel's claws were only 1 centimeter away from Ma Liangshu's body, Su Shu sensed that his superpower had finally recovered enough to be used once, and quickly released his superpower on the Bronze Lord. The moment after release, everything seemed to stop at this moment. GG. I heard the Bronze Lord suddenly stopped, and then couldn't help shouting. His whole body was stunned, and his eyes showed a look of disbelief. Then it suddenly disappeared in front of Ma Liangshu. In an instant, everyone felt light all over, the power fluctuations were lifted, and everyone was free again. Ma Liangshu seemed to realize something, and subconsciously turned his head to look, just in time to see Su Shu standing there holding the Bronze Lord. As if sensing Ma Liangshu, Su Shu raised his head and smiled at him. "Sir, don't be afraid, I'm here." At this moment, Ma Liangshu was deeply touched. The Bronze Lord beast that he had always been difficult to deal with was actually easily solved by Su Shu. No wonder the opponent became the qualifier early, it is well deserved. At the same time, looking at Su Shu's warm expression, Ma Liangshu's eyes had a hint of stickiness. Immediately, Su Shu suddenly took out the forbidden horn and plunged it directly into the Bronze Lord's head. PFF'd. The Bronze Lord alien beast's head was cut open directly by the forbidden alien horn, revealing a huge alien beast crystal core inside. Su Shu reached out and grabbed it, then pulled it out suddenly. With this, the Bronze Lord alien beast sleeps forever. Watching this scene, Ma Liangshu's eyes flashed with surprise that Su Shu could actually break through the Bronze Lord's defense. Then Su Shu threw the body to the village student. "Take it and leave quickly." Immediately, the 3 people turned around and ran away. Ma Liangshu finally came to his senses at this time and hurriedly evacuated with the 3 of them. The village student carried the corpse of the alien beast and sped up to catch up with Su Shu. He couldn't help but ask, "Brother Shu, what a pity it is for you to kill him. The value has been reduced by half." Su Shu couldn't help but rolled his eyes. "My superpower has been exhausted. Can you deal with it when it recovers?" The village student was dumbfounded after hearing this. He really couldn't deal with it. The opponent's strength was too terrifying. If we really wait for the other party to recover, several of us will be bruised by then. Jurjurjurji. Just as a few people were escaping, there was another movement from the alien beast gate. Lords emerged from it one after another. The 4 of them couldn't help but look back, and they were so frightened that they speeded up their pace unconsciously. Looking at the formation in front of us, an overlord alien beast may appear behind the alien beast gate, which would be very terrifying. At that time, the group of people will not be as simple as 1 green and 1 purple, but one and the other. Fortunately, the 4 of them had already escaped a certain distance. The effects of those lord beasts' abilities were limited, so they could not affect the 4 of them. However, the densely packed ordinary beasts were overwhelming, coming like a tide. Anyone who is often killed by alien beasts knows that once they are overwhelmed by this tidal wave of alien beasts, there will be no possibility of survival. Seeing the densely packed strange beasts getting closer and closer, Ma Liangshu gritted his teeth, his body felt elusive, and it split into 3, and then he quickly carried Su Shu and 3 others away. Ma Liangshu's speed was very fast, and he directly opened the distance between him and the group of alien beasts. A few minutes later, the 4 of them joined the other supernatural forces. Li Yafei and others had already woken up. When they saw 3 Ma Liangshu and Su Shu coming over, the 4 of them were also very surprised. After all, a few people had beaten Ma Liangshu just a moment ago. "Why don't you leave yet?" Ma Liangshu asked doubtfully when he saw these supernatural troops. "Sir, there is a village behind us, and it is not far from the town. If we evacuate, the people in the villages and towns who have not evacuated will suffer." One of the supernatural forces quickly stepped forward to report. Ma Liangshu frowned, but didn't say much because it was indeed impossible to evacuate. Jurjurji. In the distance, the sound of the strange beasts came again, and they were getting closer and closer. Ma Liangshu gritted his teeth and said, all pre-selected troops are evacuated, and all official supernatural troops are left to protect the ordinary people from evacuating. As soon as he finished speaking, he subconsciously turned around to look, only to find that Su Shu and the others had already run away, and he was immediately speechless. Li Yafei and the others also stared at the three people running away with wide eyes, feeling a burst of contempt in their hearts. The cowardly young man, you actually ignored others and ran away by yourself. In the future, becoming a deserter in the supernatural army will also be a deserter. The teammate next to Li Yafei couldn't help but say. Su Shu didn't care what they thought. Not only would it be useless for them to stay, but they would even become a burden. Instead of that, they might as well run away and look for an opportunity to act. Unexpectedly, Ma Liangshu suddenly yelled at the person who was talking, "Why are you still staying? What can you do? You can't even withstand an ordinary superpower impact, get out." Su Shu and the others made the right decision. You are a burden if you stay. You might as well leave. The man opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but couldn't. Seeing that the few people were still standing there stupidly, Ma Liangshu yelled again, "Why are you still standing there stupidly? Get out, useless things." Suddenly, the four people finally reacted and turned around and ran in the direction of Su Shu and the others. As Li Yafei walked, he looked at the backs of Su Shu and the other two from a distance, with a complicated look in his eyes and a very bad taste in his heart. Thinking about the calmness when he was with Su Shu and the others before, and then thinking about the frustrations and unhappiness after not being with them later. Especially this time, I felt aggrieved and uncomfortable everywhere. This huge sense of gap made Li Yafei feel extremely uncomfortable. She thought more than once whether her choice was right or wrong. Compared with Li Yafei's complicated thoughts, Su Shu and the other two had no such thoughts at all, or in other words, they didn't pay attention to him, Li Yafei. Now the three of them only wanted to escape quickly. While running, the three of them suddenly stopped. From a distance, they saw an off-road military vehicle driving towards the three of them. Of course, the three of them knew this car. It was the car of the commander Zhao Shilin. As long as Zhao Shilin came, it proved that the three of them were safe. Soon, the car stopped in front of the three of them, and Zhao Shilin poked his head out of the car window. "Get in the car, go back and kill the monsters." Su Shu and the other two didn't reply, their eyes were fixed on the cage behind the off-road military vehicle. The three of them looked at each other, and then were imprisoned in the forbidden cage. Su Shu grabbed the iron rod with both hands and looked at Zhao Shilin, who was anxiously locking the door outside. He couldn't help but said, "Sir Zhao, I suspect you are retaliating." While locking the car, Zhao Shilin said in surprise, "What retaliation? You have seen it yourself. There is no room in the car, so we can't let a few platinum-level officers give up their seats to you, right? The only place where you can sit in the car is the forbidden cage at the back, and there's nothing I can do about it." Su Shu, "But why did you put 5 locks on it?" Zhao Shilin explained very patiently, "It's not because the car is bumpy and I'm afraid it will knock you off, so you have to lock it firmly." Su Shu, "Why do I not believe it so much?" At this time, Zhao Shilin had locked the door and turned around and said, "Okay, let's go." Afterwards, Zhao Shilin got into the car, started the car, and headed towards the gate of alien beasts. At this time, Li Yafei and the others happened to come over and saw the car slowly passing in front of them, and they saw Su Shu and the others holding on to the iron bars in the forbidden cage. The village students also waved to several people. Li Yafei was speechless and couldn't figure out what Su Shu and the others were causing trouble. She just saw Zhao Shilin on the cab, but he didn't even look at her. She heard Ma Liangshu say that she was specially transferred to Ma Liangshu by Zhao Shilin. In other words, compared to Su Shu and others, Zhao Shilin did not hesitate to transfer Li Yafei without any hesitation. The first time he heard the news, Li Yafei felt very unbalanced. You must know that she has dual SS abilities and her future is unlimited. However, Zhao Shilin abandoned her without hesitation, leaving Su Shu and the other two behind. Watching the car go away, Li Yafei's eyes were complicated. The more he thought about it, the sadder he became, and tears welled up in his eyes. Seeing the waving village student, Su Shu was speechless. "Kun Sheng, we must have been retaliated against, you seem to be in a good mood." Village student, "Don't worry. Chief Zhao is not such a person. Su Shu ignored him and suddenly sang tears behind bars. Iron doors, iron windows, iron chains. He held his hand on the iron window and looked outside. How wonderful life is outside. When will I return to my homeland? When can I return to my homeland? Chains lock me. Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan looked at Su Shu, who was singing speechlessly, feeling extremely strange in their hearts. The car had just been driving for a while when countless strange beasts came overwhelmingly. Suddenly, the door of the moving car suddenly opened, and a middle-aged man flew out of the door. At this moment, Su Shu and the others suddenly felt a strong wind, which made the three of them messy. Hoo 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 hoo. The strong wind howled in the air, getting faster and faster, heading straight towards the overwhelming alien beast. Puff, puff. Suddenly, a strong wind swept through the group of alien beasts, and blood splashed in the air. Countless alien beasts were cut open by the terrifying strong wind and divided into two halves. Su Shu grasped the iron bars of the forbidden cage with both hands and looked at this shocking scene in surprise. This was not the first time for several people to see this type of mass-destructive power. Chief Zhao Shilin was also similar to this. In comparison, both abilities feel very shocking. The car kept moving forward, and when it reached a group of alien beasts, it directly ran over the bodies of the alien beasts, making a constant click, click, click sound that made people's hair stand on end. Seeing the crystal nuclei of the alien beasts that were constantly being squeezed out from the bodies of the alien beasts, Su Shu and the others were so hot-eyed that they leaned on the iron railing and watched greedily. Tears of sympathy for the alien beasts unknowingly flowed from the corners of the three people's mouths. In the cab, one of the middle-aged men looked back and asked softly, "Shilin, why did you put them in the forbidden cage?" Zhao Shilin immediately spoke loudly, "Report to Lieutenant, if they were not locked up, the three of them might have filled more than 10 sacks by now." The lieutenant's eyes widened a bit after hearing this. Is it such an exaggeration? It shouldn't be. Zhao Shilin, reporting to Lieutenant, more than 10 may be a bit exaggerated, but 7 or 8 should be about the same. After hearing this, the lieutenant couldn't help but turn around and looked at the three people drooling in the forbidden cage through the back window, and he couldn't help but believe it. Jurjurji. Puff, puff. The battle continued, and the number of alien beasts did not decrease because of the battle, but seemed to increase in number. Immediately afterwards, another middle-aged superhuman opened the car door and flew out, standing in the sky, his superpowers fluctuating wildly. Immediately afterwards, huge fireballs fell from the sky one after another. Rumble, rumble. The dense and huge fireballs fell on the group of alien beasts, making a terrifying sound after the explosion. Countless alien beasts were blown away by this terrifying explosion and died beyond belief. As countless alien beasts were cleared away, the car quickly arrived not far from the alien beast gate. Jurjurji. At this time, human-sized lord alien beasts continued to pour out of the alien beast gate. These lord beasts are obviously much better when facing the large-scale destructive abilities of 2 platinum-level superpowers. At the same time, with the appearance of these lords, waves of spiritual shock gathered, and madness spread to the periphery. Su Shu and the other 3 were instantly shocked when they saw this. Because they were unable to release their powers now, they were unable to withstand this terrifying mental impact. Rumble. The mental shock came in a mighty and instantaneous manner. But at this moment, Zhao Shilin in the cab suddenly emitted a terrifying supernatural power fluctuation, and instantly formed a huge ice shield above the car, blocking the mental impact. Su Shu looked up at the ice shield above, and felt differently. Zhao Shilin and Ma Liangshu were both gold supernatural powers. Ma Liangshu was very struggling to face the mental impact of the Bronze Lord level. In comparison, Zhao Shilin was at ease. This is the strength gap between supernatural powers. The strength gap varies depending on the quality of the supernatural power. Crack, crack, bang. But now it is different from before. There are too many Bronze Lord beasts this time, and the ice shield finally couldn't bear it and shattered. At this time, the 2 platinum supernatural powers in the sky began to use more lethal supernatural powers. The fire supernatural power waved his hand, and the flames spread instantly and fell directly into the group of beasts. Suddenly, countless lord beasts were burned to ashes by the terrifying flames. At the same time, the wind-type supernatural person also moved. With a wave of his hand, countless wind blades shot out from his hand, and all the alien beast lords who were hit were cut in half. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this time, a cry came from the alien beast gate. In an instant, a mental shock that was many times stronger than before came out. In the cab, Zhao Shilin and the lieutenant looked at each other. Sure enough, there is a bronze overlord. Let's go. After the lieutenant said this, he flew out of the cab with Zhao Shilin. At the same time, an invisible transparent light curtain enveloped the off-road military vehicle. Rumble. In an instant, the terrifying mental shock directly hit the transparent light curtain, making a deafening sound. Su Shu was affected and shook inside. Find a way to get out. Su Shu stared at the direction of the alien beast gate and shouted. The village student shook his head in embarrassment. How to get out? I can't even release my supernatural powers. This is the horror of the forbidden supernatural cage. Without the ability to release superpowers, the superpower user is like an ordinary person, and there is no way at all. Otherwise, Wang Yushan could summon the pear blossom spear and break the lock at will. Su Shu gritted his teeth, took out the forbidden horn, came to the cage, and stabbed directly at one of the locks. The result is useless. Because the head of the forbidden horn is round when there is no supernatural power. This scene seemed extremely funny. Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan looked at it and couldn't understand it. Looking at the undamaged lock, Su Shu was speechless. Then, he tried to use the powers stored in the forbidden horn, and he was instantly delighted that he could actually use them. Immediately afterwards, terrifying power fluctuations emitted from the forbidden horn. The forbidden horn transformed in the fluctuations, and finally turned into a mace. It was the weapon power that Su Shu had deprived him of that day. Then Su Shu struck hard on the locks. Bang bang bang. After several muffled sounds, all the locks came down. Su Shu quickly opened the door and walked out. He turned around and was about to ask Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan to come out, but found that they were looking at him stupidly, and couldn't help but ask, "Why are you still standing there? Don't you want to come out?" Morale swallowed. "Brother Shu, when did you gain the weapon power? Is this another one of your powers?" Wang Yushan also stared at Su Shu with the same doubts. Su Shu lied casually. "My second power is borrowing. You can borrow a power." The two nodded in understanding and quickly climbed out of the forbidden cage. At this time, a car-sized weasel walked out of the alien beast gate. This is the existence of the bronze overlord alien beast, which is comparable to the platinum supernatural being. This time Zhao Shilin brought 3 platinum superpowers, and including him, the 4 of them directly surrounded the bronze overlord. Snowflakes began to fall from the sky, and at the same time, the cold wind howled, making a woo-woo-woo sound. The hair on the bronze overlord body had frozen into ice crystals, but the blizzard obviously had little effect on it. Jurjurji. The bronze overlord suddenly shouted, and the terrifying mental shock directly dispersed the surrounding snow. The 4 people quickly used their powers to resist. Immediately, the bronze overlord stretched out his claws, shrouded in white light, and clawed out instantly. At the same time, white light bloomed in its eyes, making the 4 people unable to move. At the critical moment, the body of the first wind-type platinum superpower targeted by the claws suddenly turned blue, and the claws passed through his body without causing any damage. This is one of his SS abilities, turning into wind. As the old saying goes, if you turned into the wind, I would. This power allows his body to turn into wind to offset damage. Then the 4 people's powers fluctuated wildly, and they launched a crazy attack on the bronze overlord. The battle above is in full swing, and alien beasts are still emerging from the alien beast gate. Ordinary alien beasts were affected by the combat abilities above, and most of them died directly. Only some elite beasts and lord beasts can barely survive. Next to the off-road military vehicle, Su Shu was holding a bronze lord with affection. It took Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan a long time to react and quickly opened the forbidden cage. Su Shu threw it directly into it, and then continued to look towards the gate of alien beasts. The strength of the bronze lord is the same as that of the black iron overlord, and the price is the same, worth 10 million alive. Su Shu predicted that as long as 3 were caught, each person would be able to share 10 million. That Su Shu can exchange for 100 silver crystal cores, which is only 900 short of raising weakness to level B. So Su Shu can be said to be very motivated. At this time, a bronze lord appeared again in the gate of alien beasts. As soon as it appeared, it suddenly disappeared and fell into Su Shu's arms. Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan quickly opened the door of the forbidden cage. After Su Shu threw it in, there were already two inside. The village student was extremely hot-eyed and couldn't help but sigh. As long as I'm with Brother Shu, I'm willing to arrest the Lord every day. Wang Yushan rolled his eyes. In fact, we have been taking advantage of Su Shu. The village student waved his hand. Brother Shu won't mind. Su Shu, I mind, I always mind. But strictly speaking, it would still be a bit troublesome if Su Shu was the only one doing every operation. For example, this time, without the defense of Kun Sheng and the help of his overlord, Alien Skin, the three of them would either have escaped or become unconscious like Li Yafei. And without Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan, just like before at Chou Wu Gate, Su Shu could not lift the lord alone, and he had no attack power to kill the strange beast. The three of them are complementary, and without any one of them, they will become weak points, resulting in inconvenience in movement. While talking, Su Shu caught another lord and threw it into the forbidden cage. Wang Yushan looked at the three bronze lords in the forbidden cage and couldn't help but said, "How about we withdraw? 3 bronze lords are enough, we'll take them as soon as we see fit." But when he looked at Su Shu and Murensheng, he found that they were not listening to her at all. Their eyes were fixed on the door of the alien beasts. "Brother Shu, another one has come out, get it quickly." Murakuo pointed to the door of the strange beasts and shouted excitedly. Su Shu nodded, the power was activated again, and a strange beast lord appeared in his arms again. Su Shu turned around and Wang Yushan quickly opened the door of the forbidden cage. But at this moment, an accident occurred. The bronze lord that was caught at the beginning recovered and was staring at the three people with white light flashing in his eyes. "Not good," the three people shouted. Then, a terrifying mental shock rushed out of the forbidden cage and came straight towards the three people. Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan were desperate. This time it's true, Uncle One Chopstick, Aunt One Chopstick. At the critical moment, Su Shu stood directly in front of the two people, and the white light in the forbidden horn in his hand bloomed wildly. The terrifying mental shock emanated from the forbidden horn. The two mental shocks collided with each other, and the strong wind generated by the collision blew the hair of the three people. Then, Su Shu hurriedly threw the bronze lord in his hand into it, and then shouted, "Close it quickly." Because at this time, Su Shu noticed that the second captured alien lord had recovered his vitality, and the light in his eyes was about to bloom. At the critical moment, Kun Sheng and Wang Yushan struggled to close the iron door. Bang! With a muffled sound, the three of them breathed a sigh of relief and sat down on the ground, breathing heavily. After a long rest, the village student couldn't help asking, "Brother Shu, you just used mental shock, right?" Su Shu nodded. "I borrowed it from them. In fact, it was taken from the bronze lord I killed the first time. There are 4 superpowers in total: S-level mental shock, S-level mental barrier, S-level immobilization, and S-level strong mind claws. The mace superpower was used before, and mental shock was used this time. Now there are only 3 S-level superpowers in the Forbidden Horn." After resting for a while, the three found a lock in the car to lock the forbidden cage, and then drove away, preparing to sell the 4 bronze lord beasts, and by the way, preparing to sell the car together. Su Shu kept twisting the steering wheel, and his whole body was soaked with sweat. The car moved forward crookedly. Kun Sheng was sitting in the passenger seat, raising his hand to grasp the handle nervously. "Brother Shu, are you okay?" "I'm scared." Wang Yushan, who was sitting in the back, even summoned the pear blossom gun, stuck it in the car, and held it nervously. The sweat from his palms was flowing along the pear blossom gun. Su Shu raised his hand and wiped the sweat from his forehead. "Don't worry, your uncle and I were the Chu Ming mountain racing god back then." At this time, the car was about to hit the big tree in front. Murakami felt nervous and shouted quickly, "We are about to hit it, get out of the way." Su Shu quickly turned in the direction, narrowly avoiding the big tree in front of him. The huge inertia caused Kun Sheng and Wang Yuxian's bodies to shake violently, their little hearts trembling. Fortunately, as Su Shu became more and more skilled, he finally managed to reach the nearest supernatural army base. Driving straight into the base, the service staff rushed to greet him. All the staff were also very surprised when they saw the 4 bronze lords locked in the forbidden cage behind the car. Su Shu got out of the car and handed the car procedures to the staff. Our commander has ordered us to capture 4 bronze lords this time and prepare to replace the car with a new one. The old car will be sold directly this time. After hearing this, the staff member was still suspicious and did not make any move for a long time. Su Shu suddenly frowned and raised his eyelids. What are you doing standing still? Do you think our 3 qualifiers can catch the bronze lord? These were caught by our commander. Let us come and help him exchange them for military merit. The man immediately believed it after hearing it. No one would believe it, after all, who would have thought that the bronze lord could be caught in the preliminaries. Immediately, the staff took over the formalities and started counting. The first is the 4 bronze lords, with a total of 40,000 military merits and a value of 40 million. The forbidden cage is worth 1 million, which is 1,000 military merits. The car is worth 500,000, which is 500 military merits. In addition to the crystal core of the bronze lord killed at the beginning, it is worth 1 million, which is 1,000 military merits. A total of 42,500 military merits. Evenly distributed among the 3 accounts, each person has 14,166 military merits. Then the 3 of them used all their military power without hesitation. After all, if they are not used, they may be recovered later. After all, the 3 of them still owe Zhao Shilin more than 100,000 yuan. In addition, they also sold the other party's car this time. It will not be good if the other party directly deducts the military merit. Su Shu directly exchanged all of them for silver crystal cores, a total of 141. In the end, there were only 66 military merits left in the account. Su Shu exchanged 6 more bronze crystal cores and 6 black iron crystal cores, but he didn't keep any of them anyway. After the 3 of them finished exchanging money, the commercial vehicle had already arrived and they got in the car and went back. At this time, the battle at the Gate of Alien Beasts finally ended, and the Bronze Overlord was killed by 4 superpowers. But when the 4 people came down carrying the body of the Bronze Overlord, they found that the car was missing. Where did the car go? Zhao Shilin couldn't help but asked in confusion. Several other people shook their heads, expressing that they didn't know. Where are those qualifiers? Why are they all gone? The lieutenant couldn't help but ask. He was actually most curious about Su Shu and the others. After hearing this, the figures of Su Shu and others appeared in Zhao Shilin's mind, and he immediately realized that something was wrong, and hurriedly said, "Quickly, let's go to the nearest superpower base together." Because the 4 of them were flying, they quickly arrived at the supernatural army base. At this time, Zhao Shilin's car was parked among them. Zhao Shilin couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he saw the car. Fortunately, it was not destroyed. The 4 people fell down and threw the Bronze Overlord body directly on the ground. The staff immediately came to greet them. "Hello, sirs, please come to the base to rest." Zhao Shilin nodded, and then asked doubtfully, "Where are Su Shu and the others?" The staff looked confused after hearing this, obviously not knowing who the Su Shu was that Zhao Shilin was talking about. Seeing this, Zhao Shilin frowned and explained, "It's just 3 qualifiers. They came in my car." As he spoke, Zhao Shilin pointed to his off-road military vehicle. It was at this time that he discovered that the forbidden cage behind the car was missing. The staff immediately understood after hearing this. "Report, sir, they have left." Zhao Shilin nodded. "As long as they are fine. By the way, where is the forbidden cage behind the car?" The staff member was stunned after hearing this, and then explained, "The 3 qualifiers have already followed your instructions and packaged them up and sold them to the base." Sold? Zhao Shilin was completely stunned. Sold? He couldn't react for a moment, and then he immediately asked tentatively, "The car can't do it?" The staff member nodded quickly. "Yes, sir, the car was also sold." Zhao Shilin was stunned and couldn't react for a long time. The 3 platinum superpowers next to them also heard their conversation, and their brains also shut down at this moment. At this time, they finally understood why Zhao Shilin locked the 3 people in the forbidden cage. It was so lawless. But even so, there was still no defense in the end. 3 fools, check their military exploits. Finally, Zhao Shilin couldn't help but yelled. The staff member quickly took out the tablet and checked it. Soon he looked up at Zhao Shilin. Sir, their military merits are all 0. Zhao Shilin almost went crazy after hearing this. In other words, the 3 fools had already guessed that he would deduct their military merits, so they spent it in advance. Why did you take my car? It's registered in my name. Zhao Shilin couldn't help complaining. The staff hurriedly explained. Sir, when they came, they dragged 4 bronze lords over, saying that you caught them and came to sell them according to your orders. Zhao Shilin was dumbfounded after hearing this. 4 bronze lords. The other platinum superpowers were also dumbfounded. What is the concept of 4 bronze lords? Even if they wanted to catch them, it would not be easy. Live beasts are not crystal cores. Crystal cores can be taken out by killing beasts. Live beasts will resist, and all of the superpowers of the other party must be consumed before they can be captured, otherwise it will be very dangerous on the way. So each capture takes a lot of time, and the power of superpowers must be controlled on the way to avoid killing the beasts. So when the staff heard that the 3 people actually caught 4 bronze lords, the brains of the 4 people crashed again. Later, Zhao Shilin figured it out. With Su Shu's ability to get out of here, it was easy to catch the bronze lords. Just relying on the 4 bronze lords, the staff of the supernatural army base can indeed believe it. Assholes, wait for me, I will never let you 3 go. Finally, Zhao Shilin could only yell helplessly. At this time, the lieutenant next to him suddenly said, 4 bronze lords, each of them has more than 10,000 military merits. This has met the conditions for promotion to non-commissioned officers. When the time comes, report it, so that they can make an exception and become supernatural soldiers in advance. After Su Shu returned home, he found that his father Su Yixin had returned. He was confused. Why did his father go out when the gate of the alien beast was frequently opened? Could it be that his parents were big men hiding in the secular world, and every time they went out, they actually went to complete special tasks? It was really possible when he thought about it. At the same time, as soon as this idea came up, Su Shu's heart was like being tickled by something, itching. In the end, Su Shu decided to buy a locator tomorrow and put it on his father's backpack. When he went out, he would follow him to find out. After dinner, he returned to the room and Su Shu was about to climb onto the bed. But at this moment, there was a sound from the window. He turned his head and saw Zhao Shilin squatting outside the window, staring at him resentfully. Su Shu pretended not to see it and sat on the bed to absorb the crystal core. But he couldn't help it later. When he opened his eyes, he immediately saw Zhao Shilin's resentful eyes outside the window. Later, Su Shu couldn't pretend anymore, so he got up to open the window and let Zhao Shilin in. Captain Zhao, I didn't expect you to be a peeping Tom. Su Shu said speechlessly. Zhao Shilin gritted his teeth after hearing this. If there weren't 2 great gods guarding him, why would he, a gold-level supernatural being, need to knock on the window? It would be better to just break in through the window. However, he couldn't say these words to Su Shu, so he pretended to be calm and said, how many military merits did you get by selling my car? Su Shu was surprised. What car? We don't know. Commander Zhao knows that the 3 of us can't drive. Zhao Shilin said softly. Don't pretend, I've asked at the Special Power Army base. Su Shu was stunned after hearing this, and then immediately said loudly with righteous indignation, it was all done by the village student. He instigated Wang Yushan and I to do this. Zhao Shilin was speechless, and the indignant words of the village student not long ago suddenly appeared in his mind, it was all done by Su Shu. He instigated Wang Yushan and me to do this. And Wang Yushan, she was also indignant at the time, it was all done by the village student. He instigated Su Shu and me to do this. The expressions and words of the 3 people were not even much different. Zhao Shilin. Stop pretending, they both confessed. Su Shu simply stopped pretending after hearing this. Commander, the car is so broken, it's time to change it. As the old saying goes, if the old doesn't go, the new won't come. Selling it is a good thing. Zhao Shilin said coldly. Then give me the military merits you sold. Su Shu was immediately dissatisfied when he mentioned one of them, military merits. What military merits? None. They were all taken by the villagers. I can check my account, there are no military merits at all. Although he had expected this scene, Zhao Shilin still felt uncomfortable. He was so unlucky that he would become the commander of Sushu and the other three weirdos. After all, he was really cheated. And his duty as their commander was about to end, which meant that he could not get back the more than 100,000 yuan that he had been cheated by the three men before. From then on, he no longer had the authority to deduct the military merits of Sushu and the other three. Zhao Shilin. I don't care, use the things you exchanged to pay for it. Sushu. Chief Zhao, don't think I don't know. This time, you got at least more than 3,000 military commissions for the three of us. It's more than 3 million. Compared with your car and the cage, it's nothing. Zhao Shilin was dumbfounded after hearing this. How do you know I got a commission? Sushu. Nonsense, who would come to bring new people without commissions? And you're so concerned. Zhao Shilin sighed. Okay, you win. After that, he took out a small notebook and threw it to Sushu. Actually, I came here specially to give you this time. Congratulations, from today on, you officially become a member of the superpower army. Sushu stared at the small notebook lying on the bed, feeling the superpower fluctuations emanating from it, and the whole person was stunned. Superpower army. This is an existence that countless people can't reach, and today, Zhao Shilin suddenly told him that he has successfully bid farewell to his pre-selection career and officially became a superpower army. Looking at Sushu in a trance, Zhao Shilin couldn't help but say, "You three are the first in history to be officially promoted to the supernatural army before entering the supernatural university. As your former superior, I am proud of you. This is actually my first time leading the preliminary selection. You gave me a big surprise. Once again, I sincerely thank you. Thank you 8 generations of ancestors." In fact, Zhao Shilin thought in his heart, in addition to surprises, there are many shocks. Sushu picked up the small notebook, held it in his hand, and patted his chest. Don't worry, Chief Zhao, the weather will not change even if it thunders and rains. I only love Chief Zhao in this life. Zhao Shilin was speechless, feeling that he could not communicate normally with Sushu. Finally, he reached out and patted Sushu's shoulder. In the future, you should walk your way well and don't care about other people's slaps. After that, Zhao Shilin turned around, opened the window, jumped out and flew away. Sushu stared at the certificate of the supernatural army in his hand thoughtfully. Then, Sushu came to the black market, still wearing black underwear and a black robe. Black Iron Lord Crystal Core, only 90,000 each. Bronze Elite Crystal Core, 80,000 each. Blue Electric Dog Lord Cub, a living beast, only 5 million. Sushu was suddenly attracted by a hawking voice while walking, and then subconsciously looked over. I immediately saw a person squatting there, and a native dog dyed blue was squatting on the stall in front. Sushu was speechless. He knew the blue electric dog. It was the strange beast in the newly opened gate of strange beasts when he first accepted the preliminary assessment. Later, it was named Blue Electric Dog. He was quite familiar with the Blue Electric Dog. After all, they had caught a Blue Electric Dog Lord before. So when he saw the so-called Blue Electric Dog Lord cub sold by that person, Sushu wanted to laugh but was speechless. The 3 heads of the Blue Electric Dog Lord are still remembered in his mind. Then, Sushu walked over and squatted in front of the stall. How much is the Blue Electric Dog Lord cub? The man saw Sushu's figure and listened to his voice. He immediately deduced that Sushu was a young man and must be very easy to deceive, so he quickly said, "Young man, I can see that you are not an ordinary person. I can see at a glance that my Blue Electric Dog Lord Cub is not ordinary. How about this, 4 million, I will give you a discount of 1 million, just take it." Sushu raised his head. "Do you think I am a fool?" The man was stunned after hearing this, and then his face became gloomy. "Since you can see it, don't play tricks on me." He thought Sushu saw that his Blue Electric Dog was actually a local dog dyed blue, so he didn't want to entangle with Sushu. At this time, Sushu suddenly said, "It's 1 million cheaper all of a sudden, it can definitely be cheaper, you must want to make more money from me, right?" The man was stunned at first, and then quickly showed a flattering smile. Yes, you saw it, so, it's another million cheaper." Sushu nodded gently after hearing this. "You were really straightforward, okay, deal." After saying that, he took out 30 silver crystal cores and handed them to the other party. "Count, 30 silver crystal cores, enough." The man quickly took it and counted it. After seeing that the number was correct, he nodded to Su Shu and handed the dog leash to Su Shu. After Su Shu took it, he suddenly took out the certificate of the superpower army from his arms and showed it to the other party. You are so brave. You dare to cheat the superpower army. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.